The very first thing the man did after returning to the day before the apocalypse was slaughter every single cow on his family's farm. Those cows had been Zhou family's entire livelihood. The villagers who saw it were stunned, whispering that he'd gone completely mad. His ex-girlfriend stood nearby, mocking him, "Even if you sell all those cows, it's still not enough to cover my 80 grand dowry. Besides, I've already found a rich boyfriend to take over. You should just give up." Before she could finish, Zhou was snapped. "Get lost. Don't waste my time. I've got cows to kill." He knew no one around him would understand. Because only he knew 3 hours from now, hell was coming. The end wouldn't start with humans. It would start with animals. Livestock would mutate first, turning bloodthirsty and feral, attacking anything alive. Then the virus would spread to humans, faster than anyone could imagine. Within a month, the world would fall. In his last life, he watched helplessly as his family died in front of him. But this time, he swore that wouldn't happen again. Just then, Zhou's parents arrived in a panic. His father shouted, "What the hell is going on? If there's a problem, talk it out. How are we supposed to live if you butcher all our cattle?" The moment Zhou heard their voices, he froze. The knife slipped from his hand and clattered to the ground. He rushed forward and threw his arms around them. His voice trembled. "It's so good to see you again. This time, I swear, I'll protect you no matter what." His parents stared at him, completely confused by his strange behavior. But Zhou didn't stop. He said, "There's no time to explain. You just have to trust me. We have to kill all the cattle now and sell the meat. Every minute counts." His father looked into his son's eyes, hesitated for a beat, then nodded. "All right, I trust you." After all, his son was the only college graduate in the village. If he was this serious, he had to know something they didn't. His mother gave a long sigh, rolled up her sleeves, and silently joined the slaughter. The onlookers stared in disbelief. The whole family's lost it, haven't they? Zhou checked the time. Only a few hours left before everything would fall apart. He turned to the crowd and shouted, "I need 3 guys to help butcher the cattle. 800 yuan each, cash in hand." The idle men around perked up instantly, pushing and yelling over each other for a chance to earn quick money. Without wasting a second, Zhou called up a local butcher and sold off all the beef at half price, with one condition: cash only and fast. His parents watched in silent pain as the cows they'd raised over years were reduced to meat and money in mere hours. But Zhou didn't stop to explain. He stuffed the cash in his pocket and said, "I have to head into town." Before leaving, he turned back and firmly told them, "Stay inside. No matter what you hear, don't open that gate. Wait for me." Then he jumped into the truck and sped off down the dirt road. First stop, he bought everything he could find for self-defense. Then he raided the pharmacy, clearing the shelves of every emergency supply in stock. But there was still one thing Zhou needed more than anything: gunpowder. He knew in the early stages of the apocalypse, whoever had firepower had control. He took the rest of his cash to a small factory that, on the surface, made fireworks. But behind closed doors, they dealt in illegal black powder. The kicker? The owner of the place was none other than Lin Jie, the guy who stole his girlfriend. Zhou walked in and slammed a duffel bag full of cash on the table. Lin Jie raised an eyebrow, then burst out laughing. "Well, look who's back. Still hung up on that girl, huh? What's this? Dowry money? You trying to win Li Qin back with explosives?" Zhou's expression didn't even flinch. "I'm here for business. How much powder you got left?" "I'll take all of it." Lin Jie's smile froze. His tone shifted. "Wary now. We're a legitimate company. We don't deal in anything shady." Zhou smirked. "You sure? Cause last year, there was this woman in a blue coat found near the back mountain. Should I dig her up and ask what really goes on here?" Lin Jie's face went pale. Beads of sweat formed on his forehead. After a long pause, he turned to the woman beside him. "Li Qin, take him to the storage." As Zhou left, Lin Jie leaned back, chuckling coldly. "So, someone actually knows about that little secret?" His eyes narrowed with malice. "Well then, I guess he won't be around much longer." Zhou returned home with his supplies and quickly called out for his older brother to help unload. But his brother had bad news. Their younger sister, who was studying in town, hadn't come back yet. Zhou froze. In his past life, she had already been home by now. Could his early actions have triggered a butterfly effect? There were only 30 minutes left before the outbreak began. Without another word, he jumped back into the truck and sped off toward town. "Don't leave the house," he shouted behind him. "No matter what you hear, don't open the door until I get back." Tires screeched as he floored the gas, racing toward the school. He knew most infections on day 1 started with animals, but schools were packed with people. And once it hit there, all hell would break loose. Suddenly, the truck jolted violently, as if it had hit something. Zhou slammed the brakes and leapt out to check. A mutated dog lay in the road, twitching, its eyes glowing blood red, fangs dripping with thick black ooze. The outbreak had already begun. Meanwhile, news of Zhou was slaughtering his cattle had already gone viral at Qingshan High. His younger sister, Zhou Ying, was instantly branded the school freak. In class, Li Xiaoya saw Zhou Ying staying quiet and got bolder with every word. Waving her phone, she sneered, "Your whole family's nuts. Your college brother killed all your cows just to marry some village girl? Pathetic." Zhou Ying snapped. She slammed her desk and knocked the phone clean out of Li Xiaoya's hand. Just then, the teacher walked in, saw the mess, and confiscated the phone without a word. After class, while Zhou Ying stayed behind to clean, Li Xiaoya ambushed her. She shoved her to the floor and pulled out a utility knife. "You broke my phone, freak. Time to pay for it." But before she could move, her body began convulsing violently. A jet of black blood spewed from her mouth. She collapsed, choking and vomiting uncontrollably. Zhou Ying screamed and stumbled toward the hallway in terror. The entire school was already in chaos. Cries of pain, screams for help, and the sound of pure horror echoed down every corridor. Zhou Ying barely had time to process what was happening. A zombified classmate, with bulging eyes and a torn-open mouth, lunged at her. She collapsed in terror, frozen to the floor. The zombie missed, crashing face-first into the ground with a sickening thud. Just then, Li Xiaoya staggered out of the classroom, now fully turned. Her body twisted unnaturally, a grotesque grin plastered across her face. She shrieked and charged straight at Zhou Ying. But right before impact, wham! Zhou arrived just in time, landing a flying kick that sent Li Xiaoya hurtling down the hallway. Smashing through a window, the other zombie got back on its feet. Zhou didn't hesitate. He drew his short blade in one swift motion. With a single flash of steel, the zombie's head hit the floor before the body did. Zhou turned around and saw his little sister, Zhou Ying, trembling and crying. Trying to lighten the mood, he teased, "Come on, I could hear you screaming from the next town over." The school was completely overrun now. Screams echoed from every direction. Zhou grabbed her hand. "Let's go. No time to waste." They sprinted for the parking lot. Inside the car, Zhou forced a shaky smile. That was intense. "Are we sure this isn't some horror movie shoot?" Zhou glanced over and saw right through her facade. He spoke gently. "You can cry, you know. The world's changed, and we've got to learn how to live in it. Mom, Dad, and Big Brother, they're home, and they're safe." Zhou finally managed a weak smile. But back in their village, under the illusion of peace, danger was already brewing. When they arrived home and confirmed everyone was safe, Zhou nodded. "I need to find someone," he said quietly. His mother started to protest, but Zhou Ying stepped in. "Let him go," she said, her voice calm and resolute. The girl who had just run for her life now saw it clearly. Her brother was no longer the same man he used to be. Zhou could feel something stirring inside him, a strange, surging power rising from the chaos within. It was raw, untamed, but filled with infinite possibility. His thoughts drifted to a figure from his past life, a lone warrior who carved through the zombie tide like a ghost. If he could find that man in this life, he'd be an invaluable ally. Meanwhile, at the village committee building, Xiao Bingbing was bracing herself against the door with all her might. She still believed the villagers were just panicking, not fully grasping the threat. Crack! A large grayish-blue hand suddenly smashed through the wooden door. Seconds later, blood-soaked zombies forced their way in, snarling and clawing. The village officials stood, frozen in terror, completely overwhelmed. Just as all hope seemed lost, the window shattered. Zhou dove through, blade gleaming. In a blur of motion, the zombies fell one after another. He rushed to Xia Bingbing's side, gently cupping her face and checking for any sign of infection. Only when he saw no blood or bite marks did he let out a quiet breath of relief. This was the woman who, in his past life, was cold, commanding, and nearly untouchable. Yet now she looked fragile, almost human. Just then, the man with glasses shouted, "Why did you kill them? Those were our neighbors, people we've lived with for years." Zhou exhaled slowly, trying to stay calm. They're no longer human. One bite, or even a drop of infected blood, that's all it takes. They're zombies now. The man adjusted his glasses, voice rising. "Zombies? That's old Zhang. He was just looking for his missing granddaughter. We should call the police. Let the authorities handle this." At that moment, Lin Jie strolled out from the back room, clapping slowly with a smug smile. "Wow. A real tough guy, huh? What's next? Gonna say the government's part of conspiracy too?" He scoffed. Zombies? Please, you've been reading too many web novels. His mocking tone fanned the crowd's panic into rage. Some started shouting that Zhou should be tied up and handed over to the police. Just as chaos was about to erupt, Xiao Bingbing stepped forward and shouted, "Enough! Zhou just saved all our lives. Believe what you want, but those villagers were not acting like humans anymore." Zhou gave Xiao Bingbing a grateful glance. Then he spoke firmly, "If you still don't believe me, I can show you the truth. Let's head to the forest behind the mountain." Lin Jie's eyes narrowed. He'd already noticed Zhou's strange behavior in town, stockpiling weapons and supplies. Now, he was almost certain this guy knew something. If Zhou holds anything that could expose me, Lin Jie thought grimly, then he has to die, no matter what. With a fake smile, he gathered a few of his thugs and said he'd come along just in case. One Xiao Bingbing and the man with glasses, Huang Tao, also volunteered to join. She was worried about the villagers, and Huang Tao still hadn't heard from his missing wife. The village head had gone out earlier that day to investigate the disappearances and hadn't returned. When the group reached the back mountain, they quickly found his abandoned vehicle parked by the forest. Zhou would touch the hood, still warm. He hasn't been gone long, he muttered, eyes narrowing. Pieces of his past life memory began to click into place. If things unfold the same way, this forest might be ground zero for the first zombie outbreak. But even after scouring the entire mountain, the group found nothing. That was until Zhou noticed a strange cave entrance hidden among the rocks. The ground was stained with blood, and the air reeked of rot. Everything screamed that zombies had passed through. "I'll go in and check," Zhou said flatly. Lin Jie sneered, immediately throwing shade. "Or maybe you're just heading in to destroy the evidence. What? Hiding your little crime scene in there?" Zhou shot him a cold glance. "If you're scared, stay here. Otherwise, follow me and shut up." Just as Zhou stepped toward the cave, a figure lunged out from the shadows. "Ashin!" Huang Tao shouted with joy. It was his missing wife. He rushed forward, arms wide. But in the next second, Ashin bared her teeth and went straight for his throat. "Don't touch her!" Zhou roared. In a flash, he darted forward, jamming his blade between her jaws. Without hesitation, he drove the blade deep and ended her. As he turned to check on Huang Tao, the man let out a broken scream and swung a wooden stick at him. "You killed her. You murdered my wife." Zhou knocked him to the ground, face grim, silent. Zhou stayed calm, his voice low and heavy. "I get that you're hurting, but Ashin was already gone." She turned. "I had no choice. I'm trying to keep the rest of us alive." Huang Tao staggered to his feet, his voice cracking with grief and rage. "That's easy for you to say. What if I killed your family in front of you? Could you stay this calm then?" The words hit Zhou like a slap. His mind flashed back to his past life, to the bodies of his loved ones lying cold and broken, soaked in blood. His breath caught. Then, with a snarl, he grabbed Huang Tao and hoisted him into the air like he weighed nothing. His eyes turned sharp as blades. "This life, no one threatens my family and walks away." He raised his blade, and from the side, Lin Jie's voice cut in with a mocking laugh. Well, look at you. Maybe you're not so different from the monsters after all." At that instant, a strong hand slammed into Zhou's wrist, stopping the strike. Then, BM, a head sent him crashing to the ground. A familiar voice growled, "Snap out of it, dumbass." Standing above him, his face grim but steady, was his big brother, Zhou Ming. Zhou Ming stared at Huang Tao, who was still lost in the agony of losing his wife. He suddenly shouted, "You saw what she became? No one wanted this. If you need someone to blame, blame me. Her death is on me too. But right now, you need to pull yourself together. You're a village leader, damn it. These people still need you." Huang Tao trembled, clenching his fists, then finally gave a slow, broken nod. The tension finally cracked. Just then, a faint cry echoed from the cave. "Help! Someone! Help!" It was the village chief's voice. But Zhou froze, frowning. Something felt off. The tone was too controlled, too human. One of Lin Jie's thugs rolled his eyes and scoffed. "What a bunch of scared babies. I'll go drag him out myself." With that, he strutted into the cave. He didn't make it far. SHNK, a wet slicing sound cut through the silence. His torso was split clean from his waist, blood spraying everywhere. A grotesque zombie dragged out his upper half, then casually flung it aside like trash. Behind it, dozens, no, hundreds of glowing red eyes lit up the darkness. The horde had awakened. What Zhou saw was far beyond what he had imagined. The number of undead pouring from the cave was absolutely staggering. Even if he could fight his way out, how could he protect both Summer and his brother? Thankfully, the Zhou brothers had trained since childhood under a retired military martial arts master. Their skills were nothing short of elite, good enough to match professional fighters. Aim for the head. They're sensitive to direct light, Joshua warned. The brothers moved in perfect sync, slashing and dodging, clearing the immediate area within minutes. Meanwhile, Lin Jie had already scrambled behind a tree, too scared to even breathe. But deep within the cave, the same eerie cry for help echoed again. Joshua and Zhou Ming exchanged a glance. You guys head back, Joshua said firmly. It's too dangerous from here on out. You'll only slow us down. Then, without hesitation, the two stepped into the darkness. Not long in, Joshua stopped abruptly. A corpse lay ahead, dried out like a husk, heart completely missing. That same voice called again, whispering unnaturally through the air. Zhou Ming raised his flashlight, sweeping across the cave. There, sitting with his back to them, was the village chief, silent. Still, and then he snapped around, pale face, empty eyes, and from his chest, tentacles began to unfurl. The creature lunged at them with terrifying speed. Joshua reacted instinctively, slashing his blade toward its head. But the moment the blade struck, he knew something was wrong. It barely flinched. That wasn't a regular zombie. This was a mutant. In the next instant, tentacles whipped out and sent Joshua flying into the cave wall. Zhou Ming's flashlight beam caught the creature's face, and it screeched, recoiling violently from the light. They seized a moment and scrambled out of the cave. Gasping for breath, Zhou Ming turned to his brother, stunned. What the hell was that thing? Joshua exhaled slowly. I think we're looking at a cross-species infection. Some kind of genetic recombination between animals and humans. It's no longer just undead, it's evolved. He nodded toward the dark, gaping mine shaft. My guess, there's a whole nest of mutated bats in there. And that thing was a second-stage variant, probably once the village chief. Joshua glanced up at the full moon. Good thing tonight's bright. These things fear light. They won't come out easily. Zhou Ming looked at him in disbelief. Since when did you become a virologist? Joshua shrugged, half smirking. Guess I binged one too many documentaries before the world went to hell. They were just about to head back, planning to return the next day with proper gear to deal with the mutant, when suddenly, a swarm of glowing red eyes burst from the cave. It was a horde of mutated bats. The sky darkened in an instant, the moonlight swallowed by wings. Taking advantage of the chaos, the mutated zombie launched itself forward like a cannonball, smashing Zhou Ming with a brutal strike and sending him flying. One of its tentacles lashed out, shattering the flashlight Joshua held. The creature's intent was clear. It had locked onto Zhou Ming as its target. Joshua gritted his teeth and pulled with all his strength. But it was useless. The monster's power was overwhelming, far beyond what any human could resist. Just as the creature's jaws were about to close around Zhou Ming's hand, Joshua was frozen in helpless horror. Then, out of nowhere, a car came speeding onto the scene. The door slammed open, and behind the wheel was Xia Bingbing. She aimed without hesitation and rammed the mutated zombie, sending it flying. Joshua didn't miss the opening. He rushed forward and struck the final blow, ending the creature's life for good. When they realized the monster was actually the village chief, Xia Bingbing was visibly shaken. Zhou Ming exhaled deeply, his voice weary but sincere. If you hadn't shown up when you did, we'd both be dead right now. But before they could catch their breath, Joshua's face turned pale. He'd spotted it, deep on Zhou Ming's forearm, a clear bite mark. Zhou Ming gave a faint, tired smile. I'm sorry, little brother. You'll have to take care of the family now. And as for what comes next, I don't need to say it, do I? Those words tore through Joshua like a blade. Because deep down, he already knew he would have to be the one to end his brother's suffering. Staring at his infected brother, Joshua was overwhelmed with guilt. He had believed that being reborn would give him the chance to change fate, to protect his family. So why? Was history repeating itself? Suddenly, his eyes locked onto the corpse of the mutant. He rushed over and yanked the blade out from the creature's skull, then began hacking at its head again and again, relentlessly, blood splattering everywhere. Zhou Ming, thinking his brother had snapped from grief, cried out, "Joshua, what are you doing? Stop it!" Xia Bingbing also called out to him, trying to pull him back. But Joshua didn't stop, because something had just come to him. He remembered that high-level zombies absorb viral energy from the lower ones and condense it into a crystallized core hidden deep within their skulls. Moments later, he found it. A dark, blood-colored crystal nestled in the back of the creature's brain. He turned back to Zhou Ming, his voice steady, eyes burning with hope. You haven't turned yet. There's still time. And with that, he held out the crystal. Joshua spoke with a heavy voice. This is a zombie core. formed by concentrated viral matter. It shares the same source as what's in your body. If you take it, there's a chance you could evolve into an immune-enhanced type, but there's also a chance you'll turn into one of those monsters. Zhou barely glanced at it before swallowing it down without hesitation. Zhou hesitated, but deep down, he knew this was their only shot. After swallowing it, Zhou smirked. Seriously? You had this the whole time? Could have saved me the drama. So when does it kick in? Zhou answered flatly, within 2 days. Zhou nodded, turning toward the cave. 2 days. If I'm not out by then, seal it up. But if I come out with superpowers, you better not get jealous. Watching his brother walk away, so casually, Zhou finally felt the weight in his chest lift a little. He believed in him. With a faint smile, he whispered, "I'll be waiting," hidden behind a tree nearby. Lin Jie had been eavesdropping on the whole conversation. A sinister grin crept across his face. So that's how it is. Fine then. Let me help speed things up. The next morning, as the sun began to rise, Zhou burst into Zhou's room in full DIY battle gear. "Bro, time to get up." Zhou returned his head and gave her a helpless look. "What are you wearing? You look like something out of a bad sci-fi cosplay." Zhou puffed up proudly. "You said we needed to step up our defenses. I stayed up all night making this armor. Pretty cool, huh?" She waited, expecting praise, only for Zhou to casually reach out and poke the armor with one finger. Zhou tumbled out of the room like a rolling barrel. Zhou stared, deadpan. "That's your armor? What are you going to do when zombies show up?" "Roll them to death." Shaking his head, he stepped outside, only to spot his dad balancing on a ladder, stacking bricks to reinforce the courtyard wall. Mr. Zhou saw him and called out, "Zhou, you're up." He hopped down from the wall, grabbed a barrel of black powder nearby, and walked over with a huge grin. "Where'd you get this stuff? Come on, let your old man keep a few barrels to play with." Zhou sighed. "Dad, that's gunpowder. Not a toy." But Mr. Zhou had already slung the barrel over his shoulder, jogging away with a laugh. "Just one. You're too stingy." Watching his overly excited dad, Zhou muttered, "Please don't blow up the house." Suddenly, a loud clang came from the side yard. He turned and saw his mom, frying pan strapped to her head, wielding a trident, feet planted on a yoga roller, training with his little sister, who was mimicking her moves. Zhou stared at the scene, then thought to himself, "Yeah, definitely mother and daughter." Then he asked out loud, "Mom, any breakfast today?" Without turning her head, she answered, "Make your own. I'm busy," and went right back to perfecting her fort technique. Zhou sighed again. "Guess I'll go mooch a meal off Uncle Niao." Xiao Bingbing had been standing at Zhou's doorstep for a while, just about to press the doorbell. When the door opened from the inside, Zhou stepped out, surprised. "You're here? What are you doing outside?" Xiao Bingbing lowered her head, hesitating. Then, as if summoning her courage, she looked up and said loudly, I need your help with something." Zhou blinked. "Help with what?" Just then, his mom came to the door as well. When she saw who it was, she smiled warmly. "Oh, Bingbing, go mean. Xiao Bingbing gave a polite nod. "Thanks, Auntie, but I won't stay long. I'm here to talk to Zhou." She turned back to him, her tone serious. "The village committee has started organizing defenses. It's going okay so far. But I contacted the county police station last night, and ever since then, nothing. No messages, and this morning, no signal at all." Zhou quickly checked his phone, no bars. He frowned. "That's strange. This didn't happen last time." Xiao Bingbing continued, her voice tense. "It doesn't feel right. If we're cut off, we might miss something critical, like incoming support." She met his gaze. "Zhou, I need you to come with me to the county. We have to find out what's going on." Zhou stood in silence, clearly troubled by what Xiao Bingbing had said. Sensing his hesitation, Xiao Bingbing bowed deeply. "I am sorry. I know your brother went through hell yesterday, and now I'm asking you to take another risk." She looked up, eyes steady. "But I have to go to the county to find out what's going on. It's my responsibility. And you're the best fighter I know. You understand those creatures better than anyone." At that moment, Zhou's mom stepped in and gently interrupted. "That's enough, Bingbing. If it weren't for you yesterday, my foolish son might not have made it back at all." Xiao Bingbing turned toward the voice, surprised. Mrs. Zhou added, "What happened with Ming was his choice. Don't blame yourself. Bingbing, wait here a moment." Then she turned to her son. "Zhou, come with me." Zhou glanced at his mom and followed her into the house. Inside, she stood quietly, rummaging through an old wooden shelf. Without turning around, she spoke softly. "Your father and I, we're your parents. We're not supposed to hold you back. We're meant to shield you, not weigh you down. Look at you, all grown up and still making your little sister worry." With that, she pulled out a long blade wrapped in old cloth. Time had aged it, but its edge still gleamed faintly. Zhou and Xiao Bingbing walked side by side, heading off toward the county. Behind them, Zhou's mother stood quietly at the gate, watching until their figures disappeared into the distance. A faint smile appeared on her face as she murmured to herself, "Those two make quite the pair, don't they?" Meanwhile, deep inside the cave, Zhou Ming sat still, waiting for his body to react to the zombie core he had just swallowed. Suddenly, he heard the sound of footsteps approaching. Thinking it was his brother, he opened his mouth. "Zhou, wait, don't come any closer yet." Then, he felt something wet trickling past his boots. Frowning, he dipped a finger into the liquid and brought it to his nose. The moment he smelled it, his expression changed. Gasoline. Before he could react, a spark ignited at the mouth of the cave. A deafening explosion erupted. Flames tore through the tunnel, and Zhou Ming was swallowed by the blaze in an instant. Meanwhile, Zhou Zhuo and Xiao Bingbing were on the road, heading toward the county in search of help. Xiao Bingbing sat in the passenger seat, staring nervously out the window, softly humming a tune. Completely off-key. Zhou glanced sideways and couldn't help but think, wow, she really is tone deaf. Noticing his stare, Xiao Bingbing blushed slightly and muttered, "Sorry, I hum when I'm nervous. I know I sound terrible." But Zhou wasn't laughing. In fact, he felt a strange warmth. She was clearly scared, yet still forcing herself forward. Yeah, he thought, that's a Xiao Bingbing I know. With so many unexpected variables this time around, he realized he couldn't rely solely on memories from his past life. And her sensitivity to zombies, that was something he had to trust. Without warning, he said, "Xiao Bingbing, you should come stay at my place." She froze, turning to look at him, cheeks slightly flushed. "Why would I do that?" she asked softly. Zhou didn't even notice the change in her tone. He was still caught in his thoughts. If I told her about her future powers, she'd never believe me. So instead, he just said plainly, "Because I need you safe. I can't afford to lose you." Just as Xiao Bingbing, cheeks still flushed, was about to ask what he meant, Zhou was suddenly frowned. Up ahead, the road was completely blocked by a massive landslide. They quickly got out of the car to inspect. Looking at the mountain of debris, Xiao Bingbing sighed in frustration. "There's no way we're getting to the county like this." Zhou didn't reply right away, but inside he was tense. This road was fine in my last life. Something's changed. Not just the timing, but the entire path. If this route is truly cut off, we're going to have serious problems with future supplies. He finally exhaled. "Let's head back to the village. We'll figure something out." Xiao Bingbing nodded silently. On the way back, Zhou's mind raced. They had enough supplies to hold out for now, but no signal, no way out. Everything felt like it was closing in. Suddenly, clunk, the car jolted violently, then began sliding toward the edge of the bridge. Zhou slammed the brakes, gripping the wheel tight. With a screech of tires, the vehicle stopped just inches from tumbling off the edge. Both of them quickly jumped out to check what had happened. Xiao Bingbing stared at the ground, her voice trembling. "Is that?" Zhou was face darkened. "Don't get close. That's a spike strip. Someone put it there on purpose." Just then, a mocking voice echoed from above. Well, Zhou, didn't take you long to cozy up to our pretty little village chief. Gotta say, I'm impressed." They looked up to see Lin Jie crouched on the railing, spinning a pistol between his fingers, his eyes full of menace. Zhou looked up coldly. "What do you want?" Lin Jie sneered. "What do I want? You wiped out half my crew last night. As their leader, I can't exactly let that slide, can I?" He jumped down and started walking toward them slowly, step by step. Zhou scoffed. "Want revenge? Then go pick a fight with the zombies, not with us." His eyes narrowed. "But after the way you cowered last night, I doubt you even have the guts." That did it. Lin Jie's face twisted with rage. "You son of a... I'll kill you right here." Zhou calmly rested his hand on the hilt of his blade, a cold smile forming. "Go ahead, try me." But just as the tension hit its peak, Lin Jie suddenly turned his gun and fired at Xiao Bingbing without warning. The shot rang out. She collapsed, blood blooming across her shirt. Zhou froze, his eyes going wide. "Lin Jie," he roared. "You sick bastard." Lin Jie burst into laughter. "That's more like it. Yeah, you're feeling it now." He grinned cruelly. "If I want to hurt you, I go for the ones you care about most." Lin Jie smirked maliciously. "Oh, right? Almost forgot to tell you. I saw your brother get bitten last night. You couldn't bring yourself to finish him off, could you? So I did you a favor and blew up the entire mine." Zhou froze like he'd been struck by lightning. In the blink of an eye, his eyes turned bloodshot. With a roar, he drew his blade and charged at Lin Jie. Lin Jie grinned wickedly. "That's it, you idiot. Just what I wanted." As he raised his gun to fire, a dark blur exploded from the tree line. Crunch. It sank its jaws into Lin Jie's arm, ripping it clean off. Lin Jie collapsed, howling in agony, screaming like a stuck pig as he stared in horror at the creature. Zhoj was skidded to a stop, shocked by the sudden chaos. He narrowed his eyes. "That's a tier 2 zombie wolf." Meanwhile, back at the village, Zhou Ying sat on the rooftop, swinging her legs and mumbling, "Why aren't Second Bro and Bing Bing back yet?" Suddenly, loud pounding echoed from the front gate. A voice shouted urgently, "Is Zhou home? Open up." Zhou Ying poked her head over the edge. "Brother Huang? Uncle Niu? My brother's not here. What's going on?" Huang Tao suddenly pointed toward the mountain ridge and shouted, "Look over there." Zhou Ying quickly lifted her phone and turned on the flashlight, aiming it into the distance. As the beam focused on the hillside, her eyes widened, completely frozen in place. Swarming down the slopes were countless zombies, moving like a black tide toward the village. Meanwhile, Lin Jie lay on the ground, bleeding out. Barely conscious, he cursed through gritted teeth. "Damn it, is this really how I go out?" The zombie will slowly turn its bloodshot eyes toward Joshua. Joshua's instinct screamed, "Not good. It's locked onto me." With a deafening howl, the beast lunged straight at him. Joshua dodged to the side with lightning reflexes, slashing his blade across the creature's chest as it passed. Blood sprayed violently. The zombie wolf crashed to the ground, screeching in pain. Joshua caught his breath, eyes locked on the injured beast. Good, it's dusk. Its power isn't at full strength yet. But if night falls, Bing Bing and I won't stand a chance. We have to end this before the sun goes down. Suddenly, a chorus of deep, guttural howls echoed from the woods. Joshua froze. More zombies. Then it hit him. His expression darkened. No, this is a horde. His gaze snapped to the distance, where a rolling wave of undead surged through the forest. Wait, wasn't the village chief the source? But he's already dead. Then who is? The bats? Could they be the real cause? Just as Joshua pieced it all together, the zombie wolf lunged straight at him with a blood-curdling roar. Its claws slashed down viciously, aiming to rip him apart. At the last possible second, Joshua twisted his body, narrowly dodging the fatal blow. His heart pounded. How is it still this fast? It should be dying. Then he noticed it. The wound he had just carved into the creature's chest was closing up, healing rapidly right before his eyes. Before he could steady himself, the beast opened its massive jaws and lunged again, aiming to tear him apart. Meanwhile, deep inside the cave, where Zhou Ming had been buried, the rubble still shook from earlier explosions. A deep rumble echoed louder and louder through the tunnel. Then, boom! An explosion of force sent the boulders flying in all directions. Moments later, Zhou Ming emerged from the smoke, his body radiating an eerie crimson glow. A cold, twisted smile crept across his face. Back on the bridge, Xiao Bingbing stared in horror as the zombie wolf clamped down toward Joshua. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "No, please don't." Just as the zombie wolf clamped its jaws around Joshua, a strange red aura erupted from his body. A fiery glow that pulsed like living energy beneath his skin. Power surged through him, raw, wild, uncontrollable. It felt like his entire being was burning and reborn. With a guttural roar, Joshua drove his fist straight into the beast's jaw. The zombie wolf, caught completely off guard, reeled backward from the devastating blow. It let out a tortured screech, blood gushing from its mouth as it crashed to the ground. Joshua didn't give it a chance to recover. His eyes burned red as he leapt forward, raising his blade high, and with one clean, brutal slash, he sliced the creature clean in half. As the dust settled, Xiao Bingbing stared at the blood-soaked silhouette in disbelief. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Zhou, Zhua." He turned toward her with a soft smile. "Yeah, I'm here." Collapsing weakly against the ground, Xiao Bingbing gave a faint smile. "Ah, as long as you're okay." Xiao Bingbing stared at the severed zombie wolf, then at Joshua, who stood calm and steady. She let out a weak chuckle. "You're ridiculously strong. And somehow, I'm not even surprised. Is it because deep down, she thought, I've already come to believe that he can fix anything?" Joshua looked down at his hands. The power coursing through his body hadn't faded. It pulsed, wild yet controlled. Where did this come from? Could this be an awakening? But something didn't add up. In his past life, no one awakened without a crystal core. And yet, I never used one. He snapped out of it, eyes locking onto the swarm of undead surging toward them. His tone sharpened. "Now's not the time to chat. We need to move. We're surrounded. If we stay here, we're dead." Noticing the injury on her leg, He stepped forward. You can't run like that. I'll carry you. Just hold on tight. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Gritting her teeth, Xiao Bingbing struggled to stand. Her face was pale with pain, but she nodded firmly. Okay. The horde of zombies roared like a crashing wave, their snarls slicing through the air as they swarmed closer. Zhozhua didn't hesitate. He threw Xiao Bingbing over his back and sprinted toward the village with everything he had. The outline of the village came into view, but the undead were gaining fast, footsteps pounding like drums of death. He glanced back, calculating fast. There's too many of them. Even if I could take them all down, I can't protect Bingbing from getting hurt. Just as he gritted his teeth and prepared to keep running, a loud roar echoed from the distance. A vehicle, charging through the chaos like a missile. It was a heavily modified off-road truck, spitting massive fireballs from its rear exhaust, mowing through zombies like paper targets. As it reached Zhozhua, the driver pulled off a sharp drift. The tail swung wide, launching a wall of flame that blasted the oncoming undead into the air, burning them to ash in an instant. The car skidded to a stop. The driver's window rolled down, revealing Zhou's dad, a cigarette dangling from his lips. With a big grin, he shouted, "Zhou, Dad's here to save the day." From the passenger seat, Zhou waved excitedly, and me, fire support locked and loaded. After picking them up, Zhou's dad slammed on the gas, racing back toward the village. Seeing the undead still hot on their tail, he shouted, "Gunner, fire 3 of the Zhou-style dragon bombs." Roger that, Zhou Ying yelled back without missing a beat, yanking 3 homemade firebombs from her pack and hurling them out the back window. Flames exploded behind them, setting several zombies ablaze, but the creatures still kept running, engulfed in fire. Zhou's dad gave a cold snort. Still chasing us while you're on fire? All right, let's crank it up. He tossed a barrel of gunpowder out the window. Then, with a flick of his fingers, he launched his lit cigarette right into it. Boom! A massive explosion lit up the night, engulfing the road in a blazing inferno. Zhou Ying cheered from the back seat, eyes sparkling. That was insane. Let's go. Meanwhile, Zhozhua and Xiao Bingbing exchanged a look of helpless disbelief. This family might actually be crazier than zombies. Zhou suddenly remembered there was a medical kit under the seat. He bent down to retrieve it, just as he pulled out some bandages and ointment. Zhou Ying snatched them from his hands and scolded, "Hey, you don't just grab a girl's leg like that." Then, with a mischievous grin, she added, "Unless there's something going on between you two that I don't know about." Xiao Bingbing blushed and let out a shy chuckle. Zhozhua rolled his eyes, muttering in his head, "This little brat, always stirring the pot." Ignoring her, he turned to his dad. "Dad, how's everything back home?" Zhou's father kept his eyes on the rearview mirror, replying calmly, "We're good for now. The horde hasn't broken through the village yet." Zhou nodded, then glanced at the explosives in the back. "By the way, all this dynamite, did you really make it? And you were smoking next to it? Seriously?" Zhou's dad laughed proudly. "Of course. Back in the day, I was obsessed with explosives. Worked the mines as the team's demolition expert. Once the mines dried up, I had nothing to blow up anymore. I tried messing with firecrackers at home, but your mom shut that down real fast." He let out a long sigh, shaking his head like a man robbed of his true calling. Zhou suddenly remembered something and asked, "Wait, was that explosion in the kitchen last year you're doing?" His dad visibly stiffened, voice shaky. What? Of course not. Don't be ridiculous. Zhou squinted. "Dad, you're trembling." His dad mumbled, "Don't tell your mom." Before long, they arrived at the front gate. The moment they got out, loud screeching echoed from inside the yard. Zhou's dad's face went pale. He ran to the door and slammed against it. "Crap, it's locked from the inside." Without hesitation, Zhozhua stepped forward, bent his knees, and smashed the door open with one powerful knee strike. Inside the courtyard, they were greeted by a surreal sight. Zhou's mom, casually gripping a flailing zombie by the neck with one hand. She glanced at the creature and said coldly, "Oh, it's you, Auntie Zhang from the next village. Long time no see." Zhou's dad and Zhou Ying peeked from behind the broken doorframe. They shuddered at the sight of her furious expression and quietly hid behind the wall. Zhozhua stood at the front, cautiously calling out, "Mom." She didn't even look up. Still holding her frying pan, she growled at the zombie. "You really jumped out and scared me. Huh? You think just because you turned into this, you don't have to pay me back?" Zhou's mom furiously swung her frying pan at the zombie woman. "And another thing, last time we played cards, you still owe me 500. I gave your son 600 when he went to college, but when my eldest got accepted, you gave us nothing, and then you had the nerve to gossip about us. You deserve this." Zhozhua stared at the scene in shock, edging toward his dad. When did Mom get this strong? His dad took a slow drag from a cigarette. "She's always been like this. Back in the day, your mom was the top dog in a 10-village radius .3. The 5 men couldn't lay a hand on her. Things only calmed down after she met me. Though truth be told, she kind of forced me into marrying her. Thump! A flying frying pan smashed into the back of his head. From inside the courtyard, his wife's voice shot out cold and sharp. Liar, you were the one begging to marry me. She turned to glare at Joshua. And you busted the front gate like a hero. Huh. Wait till I get my hands on you. Joshua instantly took a step back, trying to sneak off. But Xia Bingbing quickly spoke up. Auntie Xia, please don't blame him. He really was just worried about you. The moment those words left her mouth, Zhou's mom froze mid-step. She slowly turned toward Bingbing, face softening like a flipped switch. Oh, Bingbing's here too? I was just fooling around earlier. Don't take it seriously. And he's super easygoing, you know? Joshua stood there, staring blankly at the scene. Her acting is scarier than the zombies. Just then, a chilling roar came from the side of the courtyard wall. A zombie had climbed up and was shrieking wildly. But before it could jump down, it was struck mid-air and sent crashing back outside. Standing atop the wall, Huang Tao shouted urgently, "Quit chatting, they're getting in. Zombies are flooding the village, and there's a whole group heading straight for us from the west." Josh's eyes sharpened. He summoned the energy within him, red light surging across his body, then launched himself straight into the fight. As he saw his dad flinging explosives, his sister manning a homemade cannon, and his mom charging forward with her iron pan, Joshua's heart surged with conviction. This time, we fight together. We're not letting a single one through. I'm not alone anymore. With my family beside me, we will survive this tide of death. But then, suddenly, the zombies at the rear began to retreat. Zhou blinked in disbelief. Look, they're backing off. Or are they afraid? Joshua frowned. No, zombies don't feel fear. As if to answer him, the zombies reappeared, this time carrying ladders, crowbars, and even saws. They were organizing. Zhou's dad stared, stunned. You've got to be kidding. They got tools now. Are we dealing with zombies or a siege army? Joshua's voice turned cold. They're not acting on instinct. Someone's controlling them. Amid the chaos, Joshua suddenly caught a glimpse of a figure on a distant rooftop. He narrowed his eyes. It was Lin Jie. The man who should have died in the explosion was now standing tall, his twisted face staring down at them with a cold, unnerving smile. At that moment, waves of zombies surged toward the Zhou family's compound, relentless like a tidal wave. Zhou's dad cursed through gritted teeth. Damn it, why are they all coming straight for us? He turned and shouted, "Explosives!" Zhou, in panic. "We're out. We used them all." From the side, Huang Tao's voice rang out. "Joshua, some of them are climbing in from the flank." Joshua turned sharply and saw several zombies scaling the sidewall. His heart sank. A diversion? They're using tactics now. Looking down, he saw Xia Bingbing and his parents surrounded, fending off the undead with whatever strength they had left. The entire family was locked in a desperate struggle. Joshua's eyes narrowed, red light flickering once more. "Dad, Mom, hold the line in the courtyard. Leave the rest to me." With that, his power surged, and he leapt off the wall, diving straight into the heart of the horde. Zhou's father watched as his son leapt into the horde, panic rising in his chest. "Fuck," he shouted, voice cracking with fear. The next moment, the zombies swarmed over, burying Zhou beneath a mountain of gnashing teeth and clawing limbs. But underneath the crushing weight, Zhou wasn't afraid. He closed his eyes and felt the energy inside him roar to life like a volcanic storm. Gripping his blade tight, he growled through gritted teeth. Blood barrier, Earthbreaker force. Ability unleashed, Blood Azura. In a single explosive motion, he swung his sword outward. A crimson wave of power surged out from his body, obliterating every zombie within range, turning them into flying chunks of flesh and bone. As the blood settled, Zhou stood tall, panting. The move had triggered a memory. In his past life, he had seen a man from the Dawn Legion, the Supreme Commander Point, one of the most powerful ability users alive. He had used this exact same move. But Joshua knew his version of Blood Azura was still far from complete. And yet, he didn't care to, "I don't need perfection, that I don't need to be the strongest. All I need is the strength to protect those I love." He looked up toward the twisted figure on the rooftop. These zombies mean nothing. The real threat is the one controlling them. If you want to end the chaos, take out the king. As another wave of zombies charged toward him, Joshua smirked, eyes glowing red. "You seriously think this kind of trash is enough to stop me?" Just as Joshua finished his words, a deafening roar exploded from behind him. A chill ran down his spine. He turned just in time to see a zombie lunging at Xia Bingbing. Before it could reach her, Zhou's mom slammed her frying pan into the creature's face, sending it flying. She rushed to Bingbing's side, eyes filled with worry. "Xia, are you okay? Did it bite you?" Panting heavily, Bingbing shook her head. "I'm fine, Auntie Xia. Where's Joshua? I saw him jump down just now. From the front yard. Zhou called out excitedly. I saw him. He was like a superhero, cutting down zombies like it was nothing. He'll be fine. But just as her words fell, boom, a thunderous crash echoed through the air. Zhou froze. Slowly, she turned around. And there, amid broken stone and dust, lay Joshua, bloodied and battered. Straining to get up, he shouted hoarsely, "Stay back. Don't come near, run." Towering before him stood a mutated zombie bear, twice the size of a truck, eyes glowing red, steel shards protruding from its spine. Its every breath steamed like smoke from furnace. It wasn't just watching, it was hunting. Joshua's body trembled in pain, but he forced himself to rise. He clenched his fists, gaze locked on the beast, voice low and resolute. Right now, I'm the only one who can face this, and I won't let my family get hurt. Not again. Joshua's eyes burned red as he unleashed every ounce of power within him. A storm of blood-red energy surged around him like wildfire. He stood firm in front of the monstrous bear, teeth clenched. If I have to die today, I'll die protecting my family. From the courtyard, his father, mother, and sister cried out in panic, "Joshua, fall back!" But Joshua didn't move an inch. The giant zombie bear roared and lunged, its claws swinging down like a guillotine. Joshua dodged to the side, just in time. But before the claw could hit, a loud crash echoed, followed by a familiar voice. Well, so you can use this kind of power too, huh? And here I thought you were slacking. The dust cleared, revealing Zhou Ming, calmly blocking the bear's claw with one hand. Sorry for the wait, little brother. Joshua's eyes widened in shock and joy. Big bro, Zhou Ming stretched his shoulders with a smirk. Took me a bit of time in the mountains to get used to this power. He glanced at Joshua. Now watch closely. This is how you really use it. With a twist of his arm, Zhou Ming hurled the giant bear through the air. It flew like a derailed freight train, smashing into a pile of ruins with a deafening boom. Zhou Ming shook off the dust and smirked. Huh, still breathing? Tough hide. This oversized hamster. Zhou Ming turned back calmly and said, "I've got this. You, go handle what only you can." Joshua smirked, eyes cold as steel. Understood. He slowly turned, locking eyes on Lin Jie, still standing atop the distant rooftop. Memories of his past life flooded back. His family dying in front of him. His own helpless screams in the night. The bitterness, the rage, the endless nightmares. This time, with power in my hands, I'll destroy everything that threatens them. Joshua stepped forward, his voice cold and sharp. Lin Jie, so you're still alive? Lin Jie turned slowly, his once severed arm now replaced with a grotesque, wolf-like claw. He let out a low, rasping laugh. No, you're talking to someone else now. The old Lin Jie is dead. He grinned, eyes wild, fangs exposed. This body is broken free from the limits of humanity. I'm part zombie, part man. Intelligence and control all in one. I command the horde. I keep my mind. In this apocalypse, I am king. Below, the zombie horde swarmed toward the building. Lin Jie stood tall, eyes closed, basking in the surge of dark power flooding his body. He smirked. You know, Joshua, I really ought to thank you. If you hadn't diced that zombie wolf into bits, I wouldn't have gotten that crystal core handed to me on a silver platter. His voice dropped lower, lips curling into a cruel grin. I've been thinking, how should I repay you for such a gift? And I finally decided. Shing, he didn't even get to finish a single flash of steel. Joshua's blade came down hard. Lin Jie's head split clean down the middle. Blood sprayed like a geyser. Joshua sheathed his sword with a cold expression. Still the same coward, just with a louder mouth. And you think you're fit to be king? He turned away, eyes scanning the battlefield. Now that Lin Jie is gone, Big Brother should have less pressure on his end. But then, a chilling laugh echoed from behind. How was that it? Joshua froze, slowly turning back, only to see Lin Jie's body rising again. The gash in his skull knitting itself back together, flesh pulsing, bones snapping back into place with sickening cracks. Lin Jie's eyes now glowed a feral red. He grinned, voice deeper, more monstrous. Face it, Joshua, your blade can't kill me. Joshua's eyes widened. He instantly raised his blade, placing it firmly before his chest that he inherited the zombie wolf's regeneration. I have to end this now. But before he could strike, Lin Jie appeared beside him like a shadow. His voice oozed into Joshua's ear like venom. We're the same, Joshua. This is our era. Join me. The dead will serve us. The living will feed us. Humanity will kneel as livestock beneath our rule. He gestured toward the swarming hordes. I even brought you a little gift. Cleared out those inferior bloodlines around you. How's that for a warm welcome? Down below, the zombie tide had already reached the walls. Inside the courtyard, Zhou's parents, Xiao Bing Bing, and the others were struggling to hold the line. From the side, Uncle Neo shouted, Zhou, the west side's collapsing. Zhou's father panted, sweat pouring down his face. Hold a little longer. Xiao Shu and Zhua, they'll finish this soon. But before he could even catch his breath, boom, a massive crash shook the ground. The giant bear's corpse landed beside him, kicking up a cloud of dirt and blood. From behind the wall, Zhou Ming's voice rang out with a hint of mischief. Man, this guy really could take a beating. Let's use him to patch the hole, yeah? Zhou's father turned quickly, relieved and tense. Xiao Shu, how's your brother? Is Zhou all right? Zhou Ming looked at the zombies closing in from every direction. He clenched his jaw. There was no way to break away now. Turning to his father, he said firmly, don't worry. Zhou has more potential than I ever did. He'll finish this. Meanwhile, Zhou was once again struck by Lin Jie, sent flying, crashing into the earth with a bone-crunching thud. Dust exploded outward. He lay there, blood dripping from his mouth, body battered. Lin Jie stepped down, crouching atop the rubble with a wicked grin. Tisic, disappointed. This is all you got, Zhou. Still, bend the knee now, and I'll forgive you for raising your blade against your king. But before the words had even left his mouth, slash. A crimson flash streaked through the air. Zhou surged forward, his blade cleaving into Lin Jie's chest, sending him flying through 3 stone walls. Dust still swirling, Zhou stood tall, eyes sharp, voice cold. Humans don't walk with beasts, especially not ones that bear their fangs at my family. He marched toward the crumpled figure in the rubble, sword still dripping with blood. And with a voice like judgment, he declared, Lin Jie, there's only one thing left for me to do. Kill you. Lin Jie's chest wound began sealing up almost instantly. Standing tall, he licked Zhou's blood from his claw, voice cold and menacing. Is that so? What a shame. Zhou, then I hereby sentence you to death. In a flash, he lunged forward. His claw came down like a falling guillotine, slicing through the air with terrifying force. Zhou barely raised his blade in time. Clang. Sparks exploded on impact. He's faster, stronger. Zhou's arms trembled from the force. I can't hold this much longer. Blow after blow rained down. Lin Jie was relentless. A searing pain tore through Zhou's arm. A deep gash opened through even his blood barrier. Reacting instantly, he kicked back and landed several paces away, breathing heavily. He glanced at the wound, eyes narrowing. Even my blood azura shield can't hold anymore. I'm reaching my limit. Across the battlefield, Lin Jie sneered, licking his claw. Impressive, Zhou. You dodged that. I really thought I'd be admiring your intestines by now. Zhou felt his strength draining, his vision slightly blurring. The blood azura aura was flickering, dying. But then, he looked up, stared straight at the monster before him, and gripped his blade tighter. If I only have one strike left, then let it in with that. Before Zhou could even react, Lin Jie suddenly appeared in front of him. He grinned wickedly, eyes glowing red. Hey, gotcha. Honestly, even I don't know how strong I am at full power. Zhou froze for a second, just long enough. Lin Jie's claw slashed across his chest, deep and brutal. Blood burst from the wound, painting the ground. But in that instant, Zhou reached into his coat. With one final surge of will, he threw a homemade explosive straight at Lin Jie's face. Enjoy this surprise, bastard. Boom! Flames roared to life, engulfing the area in a hellish inferno. From within the blaze, Lin Jie's voice echoed out, cold and mocking. A Molotov? You think that's enough to kill me? As the smoke cleared, Lin Jie stepped out, unharmed, but Zhou was gone. He blinked, then muttered, he ran, then he laughed, maniacal, unhinged. Your blood smells like a flare in the dark. You think you can hide from me? His grin vanished. Eyes turned ice cold. Run all you want, Zhou. I'll find you. And when I do, I'll tear you apart piece by piece. Elsewhere, Zhou collapsed inside a dark convenience store. Gasping for breath, he clutched his wound. Sweat, blood, and pain blurred together, but his grip on the blade remained firm. Zhou leaned against the cold shelf, eyes locked on his wounded arm. The bleeding had stopped, not healed entirely, but enough. He felt a flicker of surprise.so. Blood azura can heal, but his relief was short-lived. His energy was nearly gone. Just one move left, one last chance. Outside the gas station, footsteps echoed. Then came Lin Jie's voice, booming and cruel. A gas station? Really, Joshua? Some people die with no taste. You chose your coffin like a peasant. His claw dragged across a rusted van, sparks flying with every scrape. Metal shrieked in protest. He slowed his steps, voice turning low and deliberate, like a predator explaining the rules of the hunt. Tell me, do you know why wolves hunt? Even when they're not hungry? Lin Jie walks slowly, voice almost reverent, to feel a praised terror. Their desperate hope, crushed after every clever trick fails, that moment of pure collapse. That's the finest spice. With a twisted grin, he slammed his foot into a nearby car. Crash. The vehicle flipped like a toy, landing with a deafening metallic screech. He glanced at the ground, following the trail of blood. It led to a barely visible tripwire, glistening faintly with gasoline. Above it, a glass Molotov, ready to drop at the slightest touch. Lin Jie scoffed, his smile widening. You thought I'd be stupid enough to follow your little trail? To walk right into your trap like some blind mutt? He slowly raised a claw, eyes narrowing. No, the strongest scent of blood is coming from up there. Flash! With a sudden leap, Lin Jie cleaved upward, his claw ripping into the roof. The ceiling shattered, crashing down in a storm of steel and wood. The roof came crashing down, debris scattered, and amidst the dust, a blood-soaked jacket dropped at Lin Jie's feet. He snatched it up, confused, eyes narrowing. What a jacket! But before he could even react, whoosh! Joshua exploded out from the shadows, right in front of him. In one smooth motion, he flung a fistful of powder into Lin Jie's face. AR! Lin Jie howled in agony, clutching his burning eyes. Joshua, what the hell did you do? Joshua stepped closer, voice calm and cold. That's salt. You couldn't smell it? A slight smirk curled at his lips. Then again, you can't smell anything anymore. Can't see either, can you? Joshua stepped forward, voice cold and measured. You inherited the zombie wolf's strength, but also its greatest weakness. A wolf's nose holds over 200 million scent cells, capable of detecting over 2 million different smells. That sensitivity turns salt into absolute agony. He locked eyes with the writhing Lin Jie. Most people drop their guard once they think they've seen through a trap. You call yourself king, but you're no different. Just a blind dog choking on its own arrogance. Lin Jie roared, eyes wild with rage. Joshua, I'll kill you. I'll tear you apart. Joshua raised his blade, calm as ever. You won't get the chance. Blood energy surged through his arm, wrapping his sword in a crimson storm of power. Blood Azura, world splitter. The blade came down in a flash of red light. Boom! Lin Jie was smashed into the earth, a shockwave ripping through the ground. Smoke filled the air until the crater came into view. Joshua stood at the edge, staring down into the pit. Still alive, he muttered, "Damn, you monsters really are hard to kill." Lin Jie lay crushed in the crater, bloodied and gasping, but still snarling through his teeth. I'm a king. I don't die. But something changed. His eyes widened in shock as he noticed liquid rising around him, thick, oily, and reeking of gasoline. What is this? He shouted, panic replacing fury. Joshua's voice cut through the tension, calm and cold. Those little firebombs? They weren't enough. He stopped just short of the crater, looking up at the sky. So I figured, why not test if a full underground fuel tank can blow a monster like you straight to hell? His tone never rose. There was no anger, no fear, only quiet finality. This gas station is your coffin. Goodbye, Lin Jie. Boom. Back at the village, Zhou's father stood at the gate, weapons in hand. Suddenly, a thunderous explosion rocked the horizon. He looked up confused. What in the world? And then, a brilliant fireball bloomed in the distance. A second sun, rising over the ruins. Zhou's father stood in silence, watching the fiery glow on the horizon. The sun's up, he muttered. Look, Zhou shouted excitedly. Everyone turned. The horde of zombies that had been surrounding them all night was retreating. As the tide of death slowly pulled back, the exhausted defenders finally smiled, relieved, alive. Meanwhile, Joshua looked toward the rising sun. He smiled faintly and started walking back home. But a weak voice called out from behind. Leaning against a broken wall was a pale, barely conscious figure. Joshua, help me. Her head fell forward as her strength gave out. Joshua froze, turned back slowly. Li Qin, back at home, Zhou Ying stood with her arms crossed, glaring at her brother. Bro, are you seriously a pervert? What kind of guy strips a girl in public? Joshua sighed, clearly frustrated. I was just checking if Li Qin had been bitten. You can't just bring someone home because they look okay. Too many groups were wiped out for that exact mistake. He added, almost offensively, and I wasn't wearing a shirt either, so technically it was fair. Zhou Ying rolled her eyes. That just makes you sound more like a creep. Good thing I stopped you in time. If Icy had seen that, Joshua opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, the nearby door creaked open. Xiao Bingbing stepped out calmly. She's fine, she said. I checked her. Just exhausted, both mentally and physically. She'll wake up soon. She paused, glancing at the two. Why do you both look so weird? Zhou coughed, forcing a smile. Nothing. We're just glad you're okay. I see. Zhou turned toward her, a hint of warmth in his voice. Thanks. For everything. Xiao Bingbing lowered her gaze, quietly replying, I didn't really do anything. You're the ones who did all the hard work. After a short rest, Huang Tao, Uncle Neo, and Xiao Bingbing prepared to leave. They wanted to check the village for any more survivors while it was still daylight. Part of their duty as members of the village council. Just before they left, Joshua called out to Xiao Bingbing, seeing the guilt in her eyes. Bingbing, don't blame yourself. No one can stop a zombie tide in advance. We can't save everyone. But as long as we're alive, there's still hope. Xiao Bingbing turned back, smiling gently. I know. Thank you. From the car, Zhou Ming chuckled. Not bad, little bro. You're finally learning how to talk like a human being. Joshua watched the group drive off, murmuring, this time, the ending's finally different. Zhou Ming raised an eyebrow. Huh? What are you talking about? I made your EQ, but never mind. He sighed, then nudged the ignition. Let's move. We still need to deal with these bodies. The two drove toward the mountains and got to work on the final cleanup. Standing before the burning corpses, Zhou spoke quietly. These mutated corpses have to be incinerated. If animals eat them, we might be looking at the next disaster. Zhou Ming clapped the dust off his hands and grinned. Well, looks like we can finally go home and get some real sleep. Oh, and Joshua, make sure to take the car through the gas station wash. It reeks. Joshua scratched his head awkwardly. Yep, about that gas station. Then he frowned. Wait a sec. Why me? Zhou Ming slung an arm around his shoulder with a smirk. Because I'm your big bro. Got a problem with that? Joshua narrowed his eyes. You know the rules. Zhou Ming raised an eyebrow. Seriously? You sure you can still beat me now? Joshua scoffed. Please, I've never lost at Ghost Tag. They quickly set it up. Zhou Ming was the ghost hunter. Joshua played the ghost. The rules were simple. The hunter counts for 10 seconds while the ghost runs. If caught within 3 minutes, the hunter wins. And the ghost? Just run like hell. As Joshua's power flared and he sprinted off, Zhou Ming chuckled behind him. Really? Pulling that trick? You do remember I know it too, right? Before Joshua could even react, Zhou Ming was already right behind him. He lunged to grab him, but Joshua stopped on a dime, twisted his body, and dodged to the side like a shadow. The two dashed through the forest, leaping over roots, weaving between trees, locked in a relentless game of tag. Suddenly, Joshua leapt high, aiming for a tree branch overhead. Zhou Ming blinked in surprise, then smirked. Oh, going airborne? Nice try. Without warning, he charged straight toward the tree. Just as Joshua reached for the branch, crack, the tree toppled with a thunderous crash. Startled, Joshua adjusted midair and landed safely on the ground. Behind him, Zhou Ming was still grinning, blade in hand, fresh from felling the tree. Thought you'd escape up there? Not a chance. Joshua had barely landed when he felt something massive coming from behind. He spun around, only to see Zhou Ming hurling the whole tree trunk at him. Joshua crossed his arms, bracing himself, and blocked it with full force. The brothers locked in place, one pushing, one resisting, energy crackling between them. Zhou Ming laughed, his voice full of challenge. Running again, little bro? Joshua didn't answer his brother's teasing. He was too focused on holding back the crashing tree trunk, silently marveling at the raw force behind it. Realizing there was no way to push back head-on, he let the momentum carry him backward to absorb the impact. Moments later, the log smashed into the cliff with a thunderous crash, kicking up a cloud of dust and splinters. Zhou Ming, standing amid the mess, scratched his head awkwardly. Did I go too hard? He shouted. Joy, you get down there? But got no reply. As the dust cleared, he saw no one. Then, bonk, a pebble hit the top of his head. Joshua's voice floated down from above. Time's up. Ghost wins this round. Zhou Ming looked up at the cliff and called out, when did you get up there, you sneaky brat? Joshua jumped down lightly, grinning. When I leaned back against the cliff to absorb the impact, I figured out a lot about how our powers work. Zhou Ming nodded. I got mine from absorbing a zombie core. You too, right? Joshua rolled his shoulders and replied casually, something like that. Though in his mind, he added, technically it was in my previous life. Then aloud, but I think my ability is a bit different. I can tap into other people's powers. Zhou Ming blinked in surprise. Wait, you mean you can use my powers? Like copy them? Not just coincidence. Zhou nodded. Yeah, something like that. Your ability, Blood Bastion, right? It boosts physical strength, speed, and defense. Plus, that crimson aura around you can block most physical attacks. Based on our little scuffle, I think I can replicate about 70% of it. Zhou Ming raised an eyebrow. 70%? And I still lost? Damn, that's not all, Zhou added. I think I can assess your abilities in a pretty detailed way. Zhou Ming blinked. Hold on, are we talking RPG character stats now? Like you got a personal interface or something? Not exactly, Zhou said, flexing his fingers. It's more of an instinct. Like I can feel the numbers behind a person's strength. If the average adult stat is 20, your power and agility would be around 90. Your endurance, maybe 95. As for intelligence... Wait, Zhou Ming interrupted, grinning. Don't tell me this thing makes me smarter too? Zhou was smirked. More like 0. Honestly, watching you wrestle with a tree stump was kind of painful. Zhou Ming threw an arm around his shoulder with a mock snarl. Careful, kid. My 0 IQ might still knock your teeth out. Then he suddenly remembered something. Oh right, the zombie bear's core crystal. I stashed it in your drawer. Might come in handy later. Unaware of the lurking danger, the brothers' conversation was completely overheard by a hidden figure behind the trees. Late at night, while Zhou was sound asleep, a shadowy figure crept silently into his room. Zhou found the crystal core in the drawer, his eyes lighting up with excitement as he chuckled. Finally got my hands on a superpower. The next morning, Zhou's mom, planning to stock up on supplies, told Zhou to go plow the field. Under the blazing sun, Zhou was sweating bullets as he toiled away. Grumbling inwardly, he thought, seriously? Big bros just chilling, and I'm stuck doing all the grunt work. Mom's favoritism is real. Helpless, Zhou quietly activated his cheat skill, unleashing his power to continue plowing faster. Not far away, Li Qin was hiding in a corner, dressed in a crisp white shirt, nervously holding a cup of water. After a brief, internal struggle, she took a deep breath and finally stepped out. With a big smile plastered on her face, she called out sweetly, Zhou, there you are. I've been looking all over for you. Zhou was busy scrubbing off the zombie blood splattered across the wall. Hearing footsteps behind him, he glanced over his shoulder. Seeing who it was, he asked calmly, Li Qin, are you feeling better? Li Qin stood sweetly to the side, flashing a charming smile as she replied, yeah, I'm much better now. Thank you, Zhou. You saved my life. Zhou responded with indifference. I was just keeping a promise. No need to thank me. Unbothered by his coldness, Li Qin casually unscrewed her water bottle, pouring herself a cup as she smiled and said, regardless, it's still a debt of gratitude. She hesitated for a moment, then added softly, so, could you maybe help me out a bit more in the future? Despite her eager tone, Zhou answered firmly, no. Li Qin looked stunned, her voice trembling slightly, but why? Without turning around, Zhou said coolly, I already told you, this favor was repaying the kindness your father once showed my family. Now we're even. Zhou spoke calmly, but firmly. I have neither the responsibility nor the obligation to keep helping you. Hearing this, Li Qin lowered her head, her voice barely a whisper. I understand. Finishing the last bit of cleaning, Zhou stood silently in front of the now spotless wall. Feeling the energy stirring inside him, he muttered to himself, looks like this blood butcher power isn't exactly fit for farming yet. Gotta train more and improve my control. Just then, there was a rapid knock at the front door. Zhou quickly opened it, frowning slightly as he asked, what's going on? Inside, Xia Bingbing and the others, who had gone searching for survivors, sat quietly on the sofa, heads hanging low. Zhou looked at them, his expression darkening. So, there's no one left alive in the village? Xia Bingbing bit her lip, sadness flashing in her eyes. Sorry, but before she could finish, Zhou interrupted firmly. No, this isn't your fault. You can't stop a corpse tide just by being prepared. The fact that you risked your lives to search the entire village, you've already done more than enough. After a long silence, Uncle Nyo finally spoke up, so what do we do next? Zhou replied calmly, simple, take a shower, get some rest, then we'll have dinner together. His gaze was steady as he added, no matter what, we're still alive. After cleaning up, Xia Bingbing came out wearing Zhou Ying's spare clothes. She tugged awkwardly at the outfit and muttered, these clothes feel a bit tight. Do I look weird? Just then, Zhou's mom called from the kitchen. Bingbing, come quick. Dinner's ready. Xia Bingbing hurriedly answered, coming, auntie? Thank you. At the dining table, Zhou's dad and the others were chatting and laughing warmly. Seeing Xia Bingbing approach, Zhou's mom smiled meaningfully and said, Bingbing, come sit next to Zhou. Xia Bingbing nodded sweetly. Okay. Off to the side, Li Qin watched the lively, close-knit scene, her smile growing stiff as an uncomfortable look crossed her face. Once everyone had taken their seats, Zhou's dad raised his glass and said solemnly, "All right, everyone's here." He looked around the table and continued, "You all know the situation. We're the only survivors left in Qingshan village. We have no idea what's going on outside, and communication is still down." After a brief pause, he spoke with renewed strength, but we made it. We survived the corpse tide. Every single one of us. Holding his glass high, he smiled and said, "From now on, we're family. We'll support each other, fight together, not just to survive, but to truly live. Cheers." Just as everyone was about to raise their glasses, Zhou Ying's drink slipped from his hand, crashing to the floor. Zhou Ming immediately noticed and asked anxiously, "Yingzi, what's wrong?" Zhou Ying's eyes had turned bloodshot, sweat pouring down his face as he let out strange, guttural sounds. Zhou quickly activated his power, keeping a sharp eye on the clearly unstable Zhou Ying. Before he could figure out what was wrong, Zhou Ying suddenly lunged at him with a twisted, feral expression. She sank her teeth hard into Zhou's arm. Yet, Zhou remained calm, not a trace of panic on his face. Nearby, Zhou's dad, mom, and the others shouted anxiously, trying to snap Zhou Ying back to her senses. After a tense moment, the red haze in Zhou Ying's eyes began to fade. Zhou asked softly, "You back with us?" Zhou Ying blinked and let out a confused, "Huh?" She slowly looked around, meeting the uneasy stares from everyone. Her face flushed deep red, overwhelmed with embarrassment as the full weight of her social death moment hit her hard. Noticing Zhou Ying's awkward expression, Zhou sighed inwardly, then gave her a firm punch to the stomach without hesitation. Slinging her over his shoulder, he called back to the others, "Yingzi's drink didn't sit well with her. I'm taking her outside for some fresh air. You guys keep eating. No need to worry about us." Seeing Zhou Ying vomiting heavily over Zhou's shoulder, everyone nodded, buying his story without question. Outside, Zhou Ying squatted down, clutching her head in utter embarrassment, mumbling, "I've officially humiliated myself beyond repair." Standing behind her, Zhou was scolded harshly. "You actually dared to eat a crystal core? You got lucky this time, but do you think you'll always be this lucky?" Hearing his reprimand, Zhou Ying quickly apologized, her voice small. "I'm sorry. I just really wanted powers too." Zhou looked at her helplessly, thinking to himself, "Good thing I sensed her awakening energy early. Otherwise, she would have scared the hell out of me." Letting out a long sigh, he reached out to ruffle her hair and said gently, "All right, I'll teach you how to control your powers properly. Close your eyes. Imagine your ability like a stream of energy flowing through every part of your body." Zhou guided her patiently. "Your ability is now a part of you, an instinct as natural as breathing." Smiling slightly, he added, "Now, use this new power to sense the world. Tell me, what do you see?" Closing her eyes, Zhou Ying followed his instructions, slowly tuning into the changes around her. She whispered, I see life." Opening her eyes, a soft glow flickered within them. "I see life flowing everywhere." Feeling a surge of realization, she said excitedly, "It feels like I can control that flow." Carefully, she directed her life energy into the ground beneath her. Instantly, the potatoes buried in the soil sprouted tender shoots. In mere moments, they grew into fully mature plants. Staring at the thriving plants, Zhou Ying exclaimed in disbelief, "Did I just make them grow faster?" From the side, Zhou chuckled and replied, "Looks like you did." Seeing Zhou using the same power to speed up the potato growth, Zhou Ying's eyes widened even more. "Brother, you have the same ability too?" Zhou didn't answer her right away. Instead, he yanked the fully grown potato from the ground and said with a grin, "I just planted this earlier today. I was worried about our food supply, but with your ability, we'll have plenty of fruits and veggies from now on." Hearing this, Zhou Ying stared in disbelief. "Huh, my power is for farming." She clutched her head in despair, wailing, "I was dreaming of blasting cosmic rays, summoning storms, maybe even transforming into a magical girl. And now, I'm stuck farming. This is so unfair." Zhou gave her a helpless look and muttered, "What kind of nonsense fills your head all day?" Deep down, though, Zhou couldn't shake off a nagging thought. Normally, the chances of awakening powers from eating a crystal core are insanely low. Yet both his big brother and Yingzi awakened. It couldn't just be luck. Somehow, he felt it was connected to his own abilities. The next morning, a rooster crowing loudly in the yard met a quick fate as Zhou grabbed it by the neck. Annoyed, he grumbled, "You're way too noisy." Turning to Uncle Nyo behind him, he asked, "Uncle Nyo, where do you get this rooster so early in the morning?" Uncle Nyo chuckled, lifting a hen in his hand. "Got a hen too. They're from my own flock. Was planning to raise them for eggs and chicks." Uncle Nyo explained, A few years back, the village's poultry farm was short on workers, so they gave me a few birds as thanks. I never ate them, just kept raising them. Hearing this, Zhozhua recalled that the poultry farm wasn't too far from their home. After a quick discussion, the group decided to head over and check it out. They figured they could catch some chickens to raise and maybe gather any eggs that could still hatch. On the way there, Huang Tao glanced nervously at some corpses lying nearby and asked, they're not going to suddenly turn into zombies, right? Leaning closer to inspect, he frowned and added, but looking at them, it kind of seems like they were stabbed with sharp weapons. Zhozhua, walking ahead, replied casually, relax. Zombies don't come out during the day. Just don't go poking around in dark basements and you'll be fine. Reassured, they cautiously made their way into the factory building. Still uneasy, Huang Tao muttered behind them, wonder what the world's like out there now. Hope it's not wiped out like our village. Uncle Nyo quickly chimed in, full of conviction. No way. We humans have high-tech weapons. I bet it won't be long before someone comes to rescue us. Hearing their conversation, Zhozhua spoke quietly. It's best not to get your hopes up. His gaze darkened slightly as he continued. The real threat isn't the zombies themselves, it's the virus. The devastation it brings is far beyond anything people imagined. Right now, the only ones we can truly rely on are ourselves. Uncle Neo and Huang Tao both fell silent, their faces clouded with worry after hearing Zhozhua's grim words. A few moments later, Uncle Neo rummaged through a cabinet and found a stash of eggs. Grinning, he said, if we manage the temperature and humidity right, we can hatch these manually. Huang Tao scratched his head and muttered in confusion. But isn't it weird? Where are all the birds? Only eggs are left. Zhozhua and Uncle Neo exchanged puzzled looks. After all, even if the poultry had died, there should at least be some remains. Just as the confusion deepened, a loud, harsh honk echoed from outside the door. Instantly alert, Zhozhua turned to look, and standing at the entrance was a huge white goose. The massive goose flapped its wings, almost as if it was greeting them. Huang Tao's face lit up with excitement. Lucky day, a live one. He immediately called over to Zhozhua for a sack. After all, back when he worked at the poultry farm, he was an expert at catching birds with a sack. Grabbing the bag from Zhozhua, Huang Tao confidently strode toward the goose. With a few quick and practiced moves, he wrangled the goose into the bag with ease. Just as he was about to turn and boast about his flawless catch, the once docile goose suddenly mutated, its beak widening into a gaping, bloodthirsty maw. It lunged straight at Huang Tao's head with terrifying speed. In the blink of an eye, Zhozhua activated his powers and dashed to Huang Tao's side, landing a powerful strike that sent the mutant goose flying across the room. Huang Tao stood there, frozen and bewildered, still struggling to comprehend what had just happened. Zhozhua shouted urgently, something's wrong, fall back. The group immediately bolted out of the factory. But just as they reached outside, Zhozhua heard strange noises. He quickly threw out an arm to stop Huang Tao and Uncle Nyo, his eyes scanning their surroundings warily. Within seconds, dozens of mutant geese came charging at them from all directions. These mutated geese were far faster than before, almost unnaturally quick. In the blink of an eye, the monsters were nearly on top of them. Out of the corner of his eye, Zhozhua spotted a narrow alleyway. Without hesitation, he yelled, this way, and led Huang Tao and Uncle Nyo toward it. However, Huang Tao and Uncle Nyo were just ordinary folks. It didn't take long before their stamina gave out, and their pace slowed down drastically. Zhozhua quickly realized the situation too. Huang Tao and Uncle Nyo were running out of steam. Glancing over his shoulder, he saw the mutant geese closing in fast, relentless. With no other choice, Zhozhua decided to activate a different ability, growth, a power he had copied from Zhoueng. Focusing his will, he channeled the flowing life energy within him. In an instant, thick vines erupted and spread wildly across the narrow alleyway, creating a living barrier that stopped the pursuing mutant geese in their tracks. Zhozhua turned back, just about to urge Huang Tao and Uncle Nyo to run, when he spotted an even bigger group of mutant geese blocking the alley ahead. Trapped from both sides, Zhozhua made a split-second decision and led them into a nearby, abandoned dormitory building. Once inside, Huang Tao and Uncle Nyo collapsed against the walls, gasping for air, their faces pale and drenched in sweat. Uncle Nyo looked down at the courtyard, now swarming with mutant geese, and said heavily, looks like we're trapped. Zhozhua, you might still have a chance. But me and Xiao Huang, we're probably done for. Hearing this, Zhozhua's expression hardened. It was my mistake that got us into this mess. I swear, I'll get everyone out alive. I promise. Deep inside, though, Zhozhua was frantically weighing their options. If he pushed his blood butcher ability to the limit and carried two grown men, Could he outrun the mutant geese? But if he ran out of strength midway, they'd really be doomed. Just as Zhou braced himself for a desperate charge, Huang Tao suddenly shouted, "Wait, there's a computer here, and the power's still on." Zhou turned to him, puzzled. Huang Tao, hands flying over the keyboard, said urgently, "Good news. The local network's still up. I might have a way." At that moment, loud, violent thuds shook the door. Zhou pressed his weight against it, shouting anxiously, "Huang, whatever you're doing, hurry. This door won't hold much longer." Huang Tao kept typing furiously and yelled back, "Give me 5 minutes, no, 3 minutes." Clenching his teeth, he growled, "3 minutes. I'll handle these damn things." Hearing Huang Tao's desperate countdown, Zhou realized there was no way that flimsy door would last 3 minutes. If they were going to survive, he had to take the fight to them. Without hesitation, he channeled his blood butcher power and slammed his fist into the door. With a deafening crash, the iron door shot forward like a battering ram, instantly smashing the nearby mutant geese into unrecognizable pulp. Zhou strode out of the room, still gripping the broken doorknob in his hand. Another wave of mutant geese charged at him, screeching ferociously. Narrowing his eyes, Zhou raised the iron door in front of him like a shield, absorbing their brutal assault. In a flash, he gathered his energy into his left fist and punched the door with full force. The impact generated a massive shockwave, blasting through the corridor and reducing the charging geese to a bloody mess. As the hallway fell silent, Zhou let out a breath of relief, thinking that should buy us a little more time. In the next instant, Zhou noticed something horrifying. The shattered flesh of the mutant geese began writhing and fusing together. Inside the room, Uncle Nyo shouted anxiously at Huang Tao, "Xiao Huang, are you done yet? Zhou was fighting like hell out there. You need to hurry." Huang Tao, frantically working the keyboard, yelled back, "Almost there. Just one more step." He silently prayed, "Hang in there, Zhou." All he needed was for the final file to finish downloading. Outside, Zhou stared wide-eyed at the monstrosity forming before him. It was a massive, grotesque beast, a hulking monster made entirely of fused, mutated goose flesh. The blood-soaked abomination opened its gaping maw, emitting a spine-chilling roar. Then, with terrifying force, it slammed into the iron door Zhou was holding up. Feeling the overwhelming impact through the door, Zhou's heart sank. This isn't good. Blood Butcher's shield can't hold out much longer. In the next second, he was violently hurled backward by the sheer force. Crashing hard onto the ground, Zhou coughed up a mouthful of blood, his strength rapidly draining away. As Zhou struggled to get up, he suddenly saw Uncle Nyo standing in front of him, gripping a long stick tightly, facing down the grotesque, flesh monster alone. With a look of grim determination, Uncle Nyo said firmly, "Zhou, take Xiao Huang and run. I'll hold off." Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Zhou opened his mouth to protest. But Uncle Nyo turned back sharply, shouting, "Don't hesitate. If we waste any more time, we're all dead." Before Uncle Nyo could say another word, Zhou had already pushed himself up, moved to his side, and pulled him behind. Speaking quietly but resolutely, he said, "I promise to get everyone home. I'm not leaving a single one behind." As his words fell, Zhou's eyes began to glow, one eye burning with the crimson of Blood Butcher, the other shining with the emerald hue of Life Force. Calmly, he faced the charging flesh monster once again, merging the two powers into his right hand. Feeling the overwhelming force of life and destruction intertwining within him, Zhou knew with absolute certainty. This time, he would win. In the next heartbeat, Zhou hurled himself into a head-on clash with the flesh monster. The fusion of his twin abilities unleashed a surge of strength unlike anything he had ever felt before. With a single, devastating blow, he shattered the grotesque creature into pieces. As the monstrous remains collapsed, the intertwined powers within Zhou's body slowly began to fade. In their place came an overwhelming wave of exhaustion. His body refused to respond. He couldn't even lift a single finger. Just as Zhou thought he could finally catch his breath, a loud, piercing honk echoed from the end of the corridor. He watched in horror as a new swarm of mutant geese charged straight toward them. Shocked and desperate, Zhou struggled against his limp body, willing himself to move, to fight once more. Just as disaster loomed, the sound of music suddenly blared from the loudspeakers outside. The mutant geese, already lunging at Zhou, froze mid-attack upon hearing the music. After a moment's hesitation, they abruptly turned and stampeded away from the building. At that moment, Huang Tao rushed out of the room, shouting anxiously, "Uncle Nyo, Zhou, are you guys okay?" Uncle Nyo, still baffled, asked, "Those geese just left? And what's up with the broadcast?" "Xiao Huang, what did you do?" Hearing this, Huang Tao's face lit up with relief. "It worked. I hacked into the facility's broadcast system and played the feeding music." He quickly explained, back when this place was operational, they played that song during feeding time. The birds were trained to rush to the feed area whenever they heard it. Good thing it worked. Otherwise, we'd be toast. I swear, I'm never coming back to this cursed place again. With that, Zhou Zhua and the others loaded up into their car and headed home. Sitting in the back, Uncle Nyo carefully cradled a basket of eggs and sighed with relief. At least these eggs survived. From the driver's seat, Huang Tao chuckled and asked, "Uncle Nyo, when did you sneak all those eggs into the car?" Uncle Nyo smiled and said, "While you were busy catching the goose, I sneaked a few eggs into my pocket. Not a lot, though." Huang Tao, still a little uneasy, asked, "You sure those eggs won't hatch into mutant birds?" Uncle Nyo replied confidently, "Don't worry. These eggs are over a week old. Back then, the infection hadn't started yet. They're safe." Sitting quietly in the back of the truck, Zhou was stared down at his palm, his mind replaying the overwhelming power he felt when his two abilities merged. After returning home, the group held a meeting and finalized new assignments. Zhou's dad, Zhou Ming, and Huang Tao would form the security team, responsible for patrolling the area and building defense structures. Zhou Ying and Uncle Nyo would handle farming operations, raising crops and livestock, especially since Zhou Ying's powers could dramatically boost agricultural growth. Zhou's mom and Li Qin would take charge of resource management, handling inventory, distribution, and future planning. Lastly, Zhou Zhua and Xia Bingbing would form the exploration team, tasked with scavenging supplies and scouting the surroundings. With everyone's roles assigned, Zhou Zhua returned to his room and began preparing for their next expedition. This time, he vowed to be fully prepared. There would be no repeat of the mistakes they faced at the poultry farm. As Zhou Zhua packed his gear, a soft voice suddenly called out behind him. Before he could turn around, Li Qin tugged gently at the hem of his shirt. She pressed her forehead against his back, whispering in a trembling voice, "Zhou Zhua, take me with you." Zhou Zhua turned to her with a puzzled look. Li Qin's eyes were filled with fear and desperation as she stammered, "I'm scared Zhou Ying. No, I just want to stay with you." She leaned in closer, her voice lowering. "I know a place nearby that's safe, full of supplies. If it's just the two of us, we could survive. We could make it until rescue comes." Her words turned pleading, almost frantic. "I'll do whatever you want. Anything, just forget about the others." But when she finally looked up, she froze. Zhou Zhua was staring at her with a cold, emotionless gaze that left her completely speechless. Without a word, Zhou Zhua picked up his bag and headed for the door. As he passed, his voice rang out, sharp and cutting. "You want me to abandon my family? Say that again, and I'll throw you out myself. Let you fend for your own miserable life. And don't forget," he paused, his voice turning even colder, "you were the one who betrayed me first." Hearing Zhou Zhua's harsh words, Li Qin stood frozen, utterly stunned and at a complete loss. As Zhou Zhua stepped out of the room, he spotted Xia Bingbing waiting quietly outside. Before he could say anything, Xia Bingbing spoke up softly, Are we heading out?" Together, they made their way to a secluded fish farm tucked away from the main roads. Xia Bingbing glanced around the desolate surroundings and frowned. "This place is so remote. No way any fishing tourists would ever come here. Who even built this?" Zhou Zhua replied casually, "Lin Jie did. I stumbled upon it by accident." Hearing that name, Xia Bingbing hesitated for a moment, then asked quietly, "I've always wondered, why does Lin Jie hate you so much?" Zhou Zhua chuckled lightly and said, "It goes back to our school days. Lin Jie used to throw his family's wealth around, acting like he was above everyone else. Everyone gave way to him, except me. I challenged him at everything and beat him every time." He paused, then added, "Later, when I got close to Li Qin, he butted in, forcibly taking her away, and he never missed a chance to rub it in my face." Xia Bingbing frowned and murmured, "But he didn't even like Li Qin, did he? I heard he used to humiliate her in front of everyone." Zhou Zhua shrugged nonchalantly and replied, "Lin Jie didn't care about her. He just wanted to hurt me. As for Li Qin, she made her choice. It's none of my concern anymore." Xia Bingbing hesitated for a moment before asking, "But wasn't there some kind of engagement between you two?" Zhou Zhua sighed and replied helplessly, "That was all arranged by the adults. Back in school, they banned early relationships, but the moment we graduated, they started rushing us to get married. Pretty ironic, huh?" Xia Bingbing nodded in agreement, her voice soft. "They push us into marriage even before we've ever been in love." Suddenly, a strange feeling stirred inside Xia Bingbing. She turned to glance at the nearby lake. On the surface, the water was eerily calm. Yet somehow, An inexplicable sense of unease crept over her. A short while later, Zhou Zhuo and Xia Bingbing discovered a hidden underground facility. Standing before a massive walk-in freezer, Xia Bingbing exclaimed, "Whoa, there's actually an ice storage here? But seriously, isn't this door a bit over the top?" "Zhou Zhuo, how do you even know about this place?" Zhou Zhuo answered casually, "Heard about it once from Lin Jia. Just figured I'd take a chance." Meanwhile, deep down, he was thinking. In his previous life, he had stumbled upon this spot after the corpse tide hit, and survived for a long time using the supplies hidden here. Back then, the power was already out. But now, the electricity was still running. Zhou Zhuo's eyes narrowed slightly, a quiet thought flickering through his mind. Maybe because I stopped the first wave of the corpse tide, the future's already starting to change. Or perhaps, there were still survivors hiding here. Suddenly, a sharp scream echoed from deeper inside the ice storage. Xia Bingbing's voice. Startled, Zhou Zhuo shouted, "What happened?" Inside, Xia Bingbing had collapsed onto the floor. Trying to steady her voice as she called back, "I am fine. I just got spooked a little." Pointing ahead with a trembling hand, she muttered, "That fish head. It's way too creepy. Some kind of weird deep-sea creature." Without warning, the fish head's eye shifted slightly, glowing with a sinister crimson light. Before Xia Bingbing could even react, Zhou Zhuo rushed up behind her, slamming his palm down hard onto the grotesque fish head. Zhou Zhuo's pupils contracted sharply as he realized, this is a mutant fish-type zombie. To his shock, the creature's grotesque head was completely unharmed by his earlier strike. Slowly, it opened its massive jaws and unleashed a powerful jet of water, slamming Zhou Zhuo against the ice-cold wall before he could react. Gritting his teeth against the pain, he assessed the force of the impact and quickly realized this thing had the strength of a second-tier zombie. Seeing Zhou Zhuo hurt, Xia Bingbing immediately rushed forward, shielding him with her body, her voice trembling. "Zhou Zhuo, are you okay?" Forcing himself upright, Zhou Zhuo shouted urgently, "Run? We can't fight it head-on." But no sooner had the words left his mouth than he noticed. The massive freezer door was sealing shut on its own. Zhou Zhuo's heart sank. There was no time to worry about the door. First, they had to find a way to defeat the mutant fish monster. Without a second thought, Zhou Zhuo tightened his grip on the long blade and charged straight at the mutant fish monster. He swung down with full force, slashing at its armored body. But the creature's thick, armor-like scales were impossibly tough. His blade barely left a scratch. Reacting swiftly, Zhou Zhuo pulled back, putting distance between them. Regaining his stance, he channeled his power once more, his energy surging. With renewed determination, Zhou Zhuo launched another assault. This time, searching carefully for a weak spot between the armored scales. It was the only chance to kill it. Then, he spotted it. The fish monster's gills were unprotected, free of scales. Adjusting his movement mid-sprint, Zhou Zhuo circled behind the creature, thrusting his long blade straight toward the vulnerable gill area. But just as the blade was about to strike, countless slimy tendrils suddenly erupted from the gills, wrapping tightly around the weapon and trapping it in an instant. The sudden eruption of tendrils left Zhou Zhuo momentarily stunned. These grotesque appendages weren't part of the fish monster itself. They were parasitic mutant worms, hiding inside the creature, springing forth only to defend their host in times of danger. Taking advantage of Zhou Zhuo's hesitation, the fish monster lashed out with its tail, smashing him hard into the scattered debris across the floor. Dazed and gasping for breath, Zhou Zhuo slumped helplessly among the rubble. The fish monster loomed closer, its jaws parting as a powerful stream of water began to build inside its mouth, ready to end him. In a desperate move, Zhou Zhuo grabbed a loose power cable nearby and jammed it straight into the creature's gaping maw. A surge of electricity exploded outward, stunning the beast instantly. Without wasting a second, Zhou Zhuo pushed himself up and struck the final blow, slaying the mutant fish monster for good. Yet even with the immediate threat eliminated, Zhou Zhuo's heart grew heavier, not lighter. He knew this world had changed after his rebirth, deviating from the course of his previous life. But all those changes had been accidental, unpredictable. The appearance of this second-tier mutant fish hidden deliberately inside the ice storage. This was no accident. Someone was pulling the strings behind the scenes. Just then, Xia Bingbing's anxious voice broke the silence. "Zhou Zhuo, are you okay?" Zhou Zhuo turned and replied calmly, "I'm fine. But this place isn't safe. We need to get out of here fast." However, no matter how hard Xia Bingbing twisted the door handle, the heavy freezer door remained firmly shut, completely unmoving. Confused, Xia Bingbing cried out, "What's going on?" "The door won't open." Zhou Zhuo's expression darkened as he muttered grimly, "Someone locked it from the outside." Without hesitation, he drew upon his twin abilities, fusing the destructive force of Blood Butcher with the vitality of Life Power into his right hand. He then struck the door with all his might. A deafening crash echoed through the chamber, shaking the walls. Yet, as the dust settled, the heavy door stood completely intact. Not even a single crack appeared. Jojua's brows furrowed tightly. He hadn't expected the freezer door to be this tough. It was practically built like a bank vault. Worse yet, being trapped underground meant the door was ironically their only possible exit, and now it was their biggest weakness. Jojua gasped for breath, gritting his teeth. That's the strongest power I've got right now. He stared at the door and added bitterly, and it's still not enough. I need to catch my breath. Xia Bingbing quickly stepped forward to comfort him. You rest for now. I'll check the ice storage again. Maybe there's another way out. After a while, Xia Bingbing returned, head hanging low in disappointment. Sitting down beside him, she said quietly, I checked everywhere. There's no other exit. Jojua wasn't surprised by her words, but he knew full well the temperature here was around minus 18 degrees Celsius at best. Even if they survived the cold, they'd eventually suffocate from the lack of oxygen. He realized they couldn't afford to waste another second. Determined, Jojua pushed himself to his feet, preparing to unleash his fused powers for another desperate strike. Just then, Xia Bingbing hesitantly pulled out his zombie crystal core, saying, If I consume this, I could awaken powers too, right? Just like you. Jojua's eyes widened in shock at the sight of the crystal. Without thinking, he grabbed her hand and shouted angrily, Do you even understand what you're suggesting? It's insanely risky. But before he could say more, Xia Bingbing cut him off, her voice low but firm. But you can't keep pushing yourself. Your powers can't be used endlessly, and time is running out for both of us. Staring at Jojua, Xia Bingbing spoke quietly but firmly, You know it too. If we keep going like this, we're both going to die. So let's take one final gamble. Bet that I can survive this, and that my awakened power can help us escape. Hearing her words, Jojua's heart trembled slightly. He couldn't help but remember. In his previous life, Xia Bingbing's ability was perception. But now, with all the changes his rebirth had caused, would her power still be the same? After a long moment of silence, Jojua finally let go of her hand. Forcing a smile, he asked softly, Are you ready? He knew it clearly, just as Xia Bingbing said. Relying on his strength alone might not be enough. And this girl had already shown such bravery. Why did he have to hesitate? Xia Bingbing looked down at the crystal core in her hand and whispered, In the past, I would have been terrified, but now with you by my side, I believe I can do it. Without further hesitation, she swallowed the zombie crystal core. Meanwhile, deep in the nearby forest, Zhou's father and Zhou Ming were frantically calling out for Jojua and Xia Bingbing. However, since Zhou hadn't told anyone exactly where he and Xia Bingbing had gone, they were searching blindly, with no idea which direction to follow. As nightfall approached, a heavy darkness began to shroud the forest, and the anxiety etched on Zhou's father and Zhou Ming's faces grew even deeper. Just then, a deafening zombie roar echoed from deep within the forest. Zhou's father paled, exclaiming, Zombies! Aren't they supposed to only come out at night? Zhou Ming, standing beside him, frowned and said grimly, Something's wrong. As they hesitated, another chilling scream rang out from the distance. Zhou Ming's heart skipped a beat, and his face darkened. Crap, that was Huang Tao's voice. Hidden behind a large tree nearby, a shadowy figure quietly observed their every move. Meanwhile, back inside the ice storage, a faint groan jolted Jojua awake. He turned to see Xia Bingbing, her body steaming with heat, her face twisted in pain. Alarmed, Jojua rushed over and asked urgently, What's happening? Why are you burning up? Xia Bingbing, trembling violently, tried to tear off parts of her clothes. Gasping hoarsely, I don't know, it feels like my whole body's on fire. It hurts, it's so hot. Without hesitation, Jojua grabbed some ice from the storage and pressed it against her, trying desperately to cool her down and keep her from losing control. After a few tense minutes, Xia Bingbing was left wearing only her tight underclothes, the intense heat radiating from her body finally starting to subside. Jojua leaned closer and asked softly, Feeling better? Xia Bingbing nodded lightly, but then spoke in a strange tone. I think I'm seeing zombies. A lot of them. Everywhere. Jojua gave a helpless smile and reassured her, Don't panic. That's your awakened ability at work. But deep down, he realized with certainty, Xia Bingbing had still awakened the perception ability, which meant brute forcing their way out would be nearly impossible. Then Xia Bingbing added hesitantly, I also see something beneath the floor. She pointed down, her voice trembling slightly. Underneath us, there are lots of zombies. Jojua's heart tightened immediately. Under the floor? Could it be an underground passage? After a frantic search, Zhou discovered a hidden hatch tucked away in a corner of the freezer. Together, they climbed down the ladder into the dark, cold passage beneath the ice storage. Just as they ventured deeper inside, a feral zombie roar echoed from the darkness ahead. Zhou turned to Xia Bingbing, his expression grave. "It's too dark here. I can't see a thing. I'll have to rely on you." Xia Bingbing pointed at herself, her face full of disbelief. "Me? You're relying on me?" Zhou gripped his long blade tightly, took a ready stance, and turned to Xia Bingbing with a reassuring smile. "Don't worry. You got this." Seeing the absolute trust in Zhou's eyes, Xia Bingbing forced down her fear and nodded firmly. She activated her newly awakened ability, extending her senses into the darkness to locate the surrounding zombies. She called out the positions of the zombies one by one, guiding Zhou. Thanks to Xia Bingbing's real-time guidance, even though Zhou couldn't see a thing, he was able to strike precisely and take down the zombies with ease. With their perfect teamwork, it didn't take long to clear the dark passage of threats. Before long, they arrived at the end of the underground tunnel. They found themselves inside a cramped storage room, filled with piles of debris. Scanning the area carefully, Zhou and Xia Bingbing searched for any way out, but unfortunately, they found no passage leading to the outside world. Just as the two were running out of options, Zhou's eyes caught something. Pointing to the side, he whispered, "There's a waterway over there. It should lead to the main fish pond." Without hesitation, they plunged into the water, following the submerged passage toward the pond. For a brief moment, Xia Bingbing believed they had finally found their way to safety. But out of nowhere, a massive mutated fish monster lunged at her from the side. Before she could react, the creature snapped her up in its enormous jaws. In the next heartbeat, the monster began dragging her deeper into the murky depths. Zhou immediately sprang into action, grabbing hold of Xia Bingbing's hand, trying desperately to pull her free. But the monstrous bite force locked her in place, and they found themselves locked in a desperate struggle. Feeling the terrifying pull of the creature, Xia Bingbing realized, if this continued, she would only drag Zhou down with her. With a strained, bittersweet smile, she looked up at him, and under Zhou's stunned, anguished gaze, Xia Bingbing wrenched her hand free, letting herself be pulled into the cold, dark depths of the pond. Zhou watched helplessly as Xia Bingbing was dragged deeper into the abyss. His mind flashed back to his previous life, to the moment he had also abandoned her, leaving her to face death alone. But not this time. In this life, he swore he would never let that happen again. Without hesitation, Zhou launched himself forward, swimming with all his might toward the fish monster. At the same time, he activated his ability, Growth. In an instant, thick water plants erupted from the lake bed, spreading rapidly and entangling the monstrous creature. Within moments, the fish monster was tightly bound, immobilized by the writhing vines. From within the beast's jaws, Xia Bingbing weakly opened her eyes, and through the murky water, she caught a glimpse of Zhou, who was swimming desperately toward her. She tried to call out to him, but before she could, darkness swallowed her once more. When she finally awoke, the world spun around her. Instinctively, she sat up and cried out in panic, "Zhou!" Hearing Xia Bingbing call out, Zhou turned around with a faint smile. "You're awake?" he said softly. Holding out a can of food, he added casually, "I just heated some up. You should eat to regain your strength. As for the fish in this place, well, let's just say they're definitely off the menu." Xia Bingbing accepted the can quietly, murmuring a soft, "Thank you," then hesitated before asking, "What about that giant fish?" "The last thing I remember is you swimming toward me." And then, "Nothing," Zhou replied calmly. "It's still at the bottom of the lake, probably feeding the other fish by now." He paused for a moment, then added lightly, "It was big, sure, but nowhere near as troublesome as that mutated fishman we fought in the freezer." His tone darkened slightly as he continued, "But the mutated fish will spread through the water systems. This is happening all over the world now. There's no stopping it anymore." After a brief, heavy silence, Xia Bingbing softly called his name, "Zhou." Her voice was filled with complicated emotions as she said, "Back in school, you were always so quiet, so hard to approach. I thought you were difficult to get along with, and we barely interacted. But after the outbreak, you've risked your life to save me again and again." "Why?" Zhou lowered his gaze, not meeting her eyes, and said quietly, "At first, I saved you because I needed your awakened ability to help protect my family." Hearing this, Xia Bingbing's heart sank. She forced a small smile, but couldn't hide the sadness in her voice as she whispered, "I see. So that's how it is?" The two sat in awkward silence for a moment. After a while, Xia Bingbing's cheeks flushed pink as she asked softly, "So what about now?" Zhou glanced up at her, met her eyes, and immediately panicked, quickly averting his gaze and fumbling for words that wouldn't come. Seeing his flustered reaction, Xia Bingbing turned her head shyly, murmuring, when are we heading back? Zhou cleared his throat, steadying himself, and replied, right now. With your ability, we can avoid the zombies easily. With Xia Bingbing's enhanced perception guiding them, the two managed to evade all threats and made it back home safely in no time. The moment they returned, Zhou Ying ran over and threw herself into Zhou's arms, her voice trembling with emotion. You're finally back. Do you have any idea how worried I was? Zhou patted her back lightly, a soft smile tugging at his lips. All right, enough drama. Everything's fine here, right? But at his question, Zhou Ying's smile faded. She lowered her voice, speaking solemnly. You two better come with me first. As soon as Zhou stepped inside the room, he was met with the agonized cries of Huang Tao, and saw his father and elder brother standing off to the side, their faces grim and heavy with worry. A deep, sinking feeling gripped Zhou's heart. When his eyes fell on Huang Tao, bound tightly to the sofa, his face darkened immediately as he asked, what happened? Zhou Ming, his elder brother, stepped forward and explained, on our way to find you and Xia Bingbing, we got ambushed by a horde of zombies. He added with a bitter smile, we tried to capture a second-tier zombie to get a crystal core to save him, but it didn't work. Sitting silently on the couch, Uncle Niu looked up at Zhou with a hollow, desperate expression. Can Xiao Huang still be saved? He asked in a trembling voice. Zhou turned his gaze back to Huang Tao. Huang Tao's eyes were bloodshot, his face twisted with bulging veins, a clear sign that the virus had already invaded his brain. Even if they tried to force a crystal core into him now, he would only turn into another monster like Lin Jie. Just as Zhou struggled with the words he needed to say, Huang Tao, regaining a flicker of awareness, spoke through gritted teeth. I don't want to become a zombie. Don't hesitate. Make it quick. Zhou lowered his head, his hand trembling on the hilt of his blade. His mind was a storm of agony and indecision. But just as he clenched his jaw, Zhou suddenly sensed something wrong behind him. Instantly, he activated his abilities and spun around to face whatever was lurking there. Zhou turned sharply and saw his mother trembling violently, her eyes filled with inner conflict and pain. Without hesitation, he grabbed her arm, pulled her aside, and quickly pulled a crystal core from his pocket. His voice was urgent as he said, Mom, quick, eat this. His mother stared at the core, confused. This is the same thing Xiao Huang took. Where did you even get it? Zhou didn't have time to explain. I found it at the fish farm. Just trust me, eat it now. She opened her mouth to ask another question, but a low, agonizing growl from Huang Tao cut through the room. Zhou Ming shouted urgently, Zhou, Huang Tao's not going to last much longer. Zhou froze for a second, cursing under his breath. Damn it. Still too late. He knew all too well. If they waited for his mother's ability to awaken, it would be too late. He had to make a decision, right now. Acting on instinct, Zhou moved swiftly, raising his long blade high, preparing to deliver a merciful blow to Huang Tao. But just as he was about to strike, a sudden surge of overwhelming energy burst out from behind him. Alarmed, Zhou spun around. And there, floating in midair, was his mother. Her entire appearance had changed, radiating a pure, holy energy that lit up the room. With a simple, graceful wave of her hand, a beam of radiant power shot toward Huang Tao. In an instant, the zombie virus rampaging inside him began to dissolve and vanish. His blood-red, feral eyes cleared, returning to a normal, lucid gaze. Moments later, Huang Tao stared at his healed body in utter disbelief, bursting out with joy. Look at me. I'm cured. Yet no one in the room was paying attention to him. Every eye was fixed and stunned on Zhou's mother, faces frozen with shock at the miracle they had just witnessed. Everyone was stunned. Not only had Zhou's mother awakened a new ability, but even her appearance had changed, glowing with newfound vitality. Seeing his mother successfully awaken purification power, Zhou finally let out a long, relieved breath. He then explained to the others. His mother's new ability could emit a holy light capable of cleansing zombie viruses from infected bodies. However, for those who had already fully transformed into zombies, the purification would act as a lethal force instead. As for why he had known she would awaken such an ability, Zhou simply said, I sensed it. And truthfully, he wasn't sure how or why he had this kind of perception either. What he did know was the feeling was very similar to when he had previously sensed his elder brother and Ingzi's abilities awakening. And this sensing ability seemed to be growing stronger over time. But there were limits. He couldn't sense Xia Bingbing's ability, nor could he borrow it. Zhou could only assume for now his sensing and copying powers were likely restricted to his family by blood. The more family members who awakened abilities, the stronger he would become. After everyone eventually left to rest, Zhoj returned to Xiao Bingbing, his voice low and serious. Let's begin. Bingbing, can you scan the area and check how many zombies are still nearby? Xiao Bingbing nodded softly, then unleashed her full sensing ability. As her range expanded wider and wider, it didn't take long for her to map out the positions of the surrounding zombies. She whispered to Zhou, there's about 100 near the minefield woods and another 100 around the back hills. Hearing that, Zhou immediately asked, any second-tier zombies spotted? Xiao Bingbing nodded slightly, replying, yes, 3 of them. Zhou's mind raced. Perfect. 1 for Dad, 1 for Huang Tao, and 1 for Uncle Niu. If they could each successfully hunt and absorb a crystal core, the household's overall combat strength would surge. Just as Zhou was strategizing how to approach the hunt, Xiao Bingbing suddenly gasped, her expression tense. The zombies, they're moving, and almost all at once. She focused harder, her voice growing more urgent. They're converging toward one place. Extending her sensing ability even further, Xiao Bingbing soon spotted something chilling. Right in the center of the gathering horde stood a lone human figure. When Xiao Bingbing finally got a clear look at the figure's face, she froze, disbelief written all over her. It's Lin Jie. All the zombies are moving toward him. Zhou's face darkened in shock. He thought back. He had seen Lin Jie die, burned to ashes before his very eyes. Could it really be the same Lin Jie that Xiao Bingbing was seeing now? Gritting his teeth, Zhou muttered, damn it. So it really was Lin Jie who locked us inside the ice storage. His mind raced, connecting the dots. The ambush in the forest, that must have been his doing too. Xiao Bingbing, looking anxious, asked, what do we do? Should we warn everyone and set up defenses again like last time? Zhou fell silent for a moment, then spoke with a heavy, resolute voice. At the current rate, Lin Jie will need about a day to gather enough zombies to launch a full assault. A sharp glint flashed through his eyes. Rather than waiting for them to come to us, we'll strike first, catch him completely off guard. Deep in the forest behind the hills, Zhou stood tall, surveying the surroundings, then called out coldly, his voice cutting through the dense trees. Lin Jie, I know you're here. Come out and face me. On a massive boulder not far away, a figure crouched low, slowly rising to his feet. It was none other than Lin Jie, the man who was supposed to be dead. Lin Jie sneered, staring coldly at Zhou. Well, I didn't expect you to walk right into your own death, Zhou. Zhou's face remained expressionless. Is that so? He replied flatly. But weren't you the one playing dead last time? Lin Jie's expression darkened immediately, rage flashing in his eyes. Shut up, he roared. Without another word, he lunged forward, claws gleaming as he struck toward Zhou. Zhou's gaze sharpened, his body tilting deftly to the side, and with a swift motion, his blade slashed across Lin Jie's chest. As blood splattered, Zhou caught sight of the lingering burn scars still marring Lin Jie's body. In that moment, everything clicked into place. A cold smirk tugged at Zhou's lips. So I was right, he said mockingly. Your wounds never fully healed. That's why you played dirty back at the ice storage instead of facing me head on. Lin Jie, you're nothing but a coward. Lin Jie, face twisted with rage, growled back. Don't get cocky. Even injured, you think you can take me on alone. But before he could finish, a deafening explosion tore through the forest behind him. Lin Jie froze, his body stiffening, a growing sense of dread flooding his heart. Meanwhile, Zhou sneered mockingly. Let me guess, you were about to boast about your reinforcements, right? Too bad. I knew about them from the start. My people intercepted them halfway through. Lin Jie, this time, you're dead for sure. Elsewhere, at the site of the explosion, Zhou's father stood atop a towering tree branch, gazing down at the battlefield littered with fallen zombies. Laughing wildly, he roared, Didn't expect this, did you? I've been waiting here all along. Now burn, all of you. Turn to ashes. Meanwhile, on the ground below, Zhou's mother watched expressionlessly toward the distance. From the tree line, yet another wave of zombies surged forward. Without hesitation, she unleashed her full purification power. The holy energy, the natural nemesis of zombie viruses, ignited a ghostly blue fire across the undead, reducing them to ashes within moments of contact. Watching the swarm being effortlessly wiped out, Zhou's mother felt the surging strength of her ability and chuckled lightly. Not bad at all. This power sure makes cleanup easy. Hearing her words, Zhou's father immediately hugged Zhou's mother tightly, his face glowing with pride. You're amazing, honey, he laughed. Zhou's mother, however, push him away with a look of disdain, choosing instead to contact Xia Bingbing through her earpiece. After reporting that point A was clear zombies, she asked for the next target. Thanks to her sensing ability, Xia Bingbing had already mapped out all nearby zombie locations. Hearing that one cluster was eliminated, she quickly responded, about 1 kilometer northwest, there's another group, 24 zombies. After getting the new location, Zhou's mother paused, her tone softening. Bingbing, how's your side? Is everything safe? Xia Bingbing's voice came back reassuringly. Don't worry, we're hiding near the cellar entrance. There are guards stationed nearby too. Then she turned and asked Zhou Ming, who was operating solo. Brother Zhou Ming, are you okay on your own? Zhou Ming, already fully adept with his awakened ability, answered cheerfully. Relax. These zombies aren't even enough for me to warm up. Hearing Zhou Ming's confident words through the earpiece, Zhou's father burst into hearty laughter, grinning as he said, those zombies never saw this coming. Getting ambushed like this serves them right. Zhou Ming chuckled too, then added seriously, none of this would have gone so smoothly without Xia Bingbing. Her intelligence and coordination were key. From now on, Bingbing, you're officially our team's commander. Hearing everyone's praise, Xia Bingbing blushed slightly and murmured, it's really thanks to all of you. I just a little part. Meanwhile, Lin Jie, still suffering from his previous injuries, was being completely overwhelmed by Zhou Zhua, barely able to defend himself. Lin Jie's mind reeled in disbelief, staring at Zhou Zhua with wide, desperate eyes. How had the gap between them grown so vast? His eyes bulged with rage as he roared, I will not lose. But Zhou Zhua simply sneered in response. You've been crushed on both flanks and your main force can't even breathe. Lin Jie, do you really think there's any way you can turn this around? As he spoke, Zhou Zhua once again gathered energy into his hands, his voice cold and steady as he declared, it's over, Lin Jie. Lin Jie lowered his head, silent for a brief moment, before suddenly gritting his teeth and snarling back, yeah, it's over. Just then, back at the base, Xia Bingbing's expression tightened. Urgently, she shouted into the earpiece, Zhou Zhua, watch out, 3 second-tier zombies are heading your way. As her warning echoed in his ears, Zhou Zhua turned, only to see 3 massive, mutated rat-like monsters charging straight at him. After a brief moment of distraction, Zhou Zhua's face darkened. He said coldly to Lin Jie, mutated rat zombies? Is that really what you're counting on to beat me? Lin Jie chuckled darkly. Who said I was using them to fight? Watch closely. As he spoke, Lin Jie reached into the skull of one of the massive mutant rats, pulling out its crystal core and swallowing it whole, followed by the other 2 in quick succession. Moments later, a violent surge of power exploded from Lin Jie's body. He slowly lifted his gaze toward Zhou Zhua, a sinister smile playing on his lips. Zhou Zhua, this is my true power. Zhou Zhua stared at the now fully evolved 3rd-tier mutant Lin Jie, a powerful sense of danger crashing over him. Without hesitation, Zhou Zhua activated his abilities to the limit, dashing forward in a flash, long blade in hand, aiming straight at Lin Jie. But Lin Jie didn't even flinch. With a casual raise of his right hand, he effortlessly blocked Zhou Zhua's strike. Then, with a swift, brutal palm strike, he sent Zhou Zhua flying backwards through the air. Watching Zhou Zhua crash to the ground, Lin Jie sneered with mockery. Is that all you've got, Zhou Zhua? As Lin Jie finished speaking, Zhou Zhua quickly realigned himself, channeling all his strength into a punch that struck Lin Jie square in the chest. Yet, it still failed to leave so much as a scratch. Lin Jie chuckled coldly, taunting, how disappointing. Is this really the limit of your power? Come on, Zhou Zhua, at least try something like this. With that, Lin Jie seized Zhou Zhua by the head, and with brutal force, smashed him downward toward the ground. Dust and debris erupted violently. But as the dust cleared, there was no sign of Zhou Zhua. Only a gaping hole remained, and a lingering trace of emerald green energy surrounded the edges. Seeing this, Lin Jie blinked in mild surprise, muttering to himself, so, he has another ability? Escaped underground. After a brief pause, Lin Jie's expression twisted into savage fury. No matter, he roared. I'll drag you out of whatever hole you're hiding in, break you piece by piece, and then I'll slaughter every last one of your precious family. Not far away, hidden deep within the forest, Zhou Zhua emerged from the hollow of a tree, his entire body covered in dust and bruises. He was breathing heavily, his strength drained after burning through so much of his energy. Thinking back to the power Lin Jie had unleashed moments ago, Zhou Zhua couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine. So this is what a 3rd-tier mutant's true power looks like. In my past life, I never even had a chance to face something like this head-on. I had no idea It was this overwhelming. Gritting his teeth, he calculated quickly. Even if my brother and my mother joined forces with me, we still might not be able to take Lin Jie down. His eyes hardened with determination. I have to find a way to end him before he completely loses control. If not, the consequences would be unimaginable. Suddenly, an overwhelming pressure crashed down upon him, so intense it nearly stole his breath away. Frowning deeply, Zhou Zhuo instinctively looked up at the sky, where once hung a pure white moon. Now there was only a blood-red orb, staining the night with its ominous glow. Beneath that blood moon, a brilliant blue wave of light slowly rose from the distant horizon. And then, without warning, a searing crimson beam clashed violently with the blue wave, sending shockwaves rippling through the air with a force that rattled the soul. As the deafening explosion echoed through the air, the rainbow-colored shockwave expanded outward at a terrifying speed. In the next instant, Zhou Zhuo's eyes narrowed sharply. Within the spreading halo, he could make out two shadowy figures standing amidst the chaos. But before he could figure out what was happening, Lin Jie's mocking laughter rang out from behind him. Zhou Zhuo, still distracted even now? You're underestimating me way too much. Zhou Zhuo instinctively tried to turn around, but Lin Jie's mutated tail lashed out, smashing into him and sending him hurtling through the air. Zhou Zhuo crashed hard against a massive boulder, the impact reverberating through the ground. The sudden blow, coupled with his already drained strength, left Zhou Zhuo unable to even stand. Lin Jie casually strode over, crouched beside Zhou Zhuo, and pressed a mocking finger against his forehead. What's wrong? Can't run anymore? Where's all that fancy ability now? If you're out of options, then just die for me. But just as Lin Jie prepared to deliver the final blow, the expanding halo of light washed over both him and Zhou Zhuo. The moment the light enveloped them, their bodies froze, as if some unseen force had locked them both in place, paralyzing them completely. No matter how hard Zhou Zhuo struggled, his body remained frozen, as if the entire world around him had been locked in suspended animation. But soon he realized, though he couldn't move, he could still activate his abilities. Without hesitation, Zhou Zhuo gathered all his energy into his forehead, and in the next instant, a sharp beam of power shot out, piercing straight through Lin Jie's skull. As the halo of light slowly faded, Lin Jie, now able to move again, clutched at his face in agony, screaming in pain. Moments later, he staggered away in terror, fleeing desperately into the depths of the forest. Watching Lin Jie's retreating figure, Zhou Zhuo's strength finally gave out, and he collapsed heavily onto the ground. A short time later, guided by Xia Bingbing's directions, Zhou Ming arrived at the scene. Seeing Zhou Zhuo battered and motionless, he rushed over, shouting, "Zhou Zhuo, are you all right?" Weakly, Zhou Zhuo forced out a few words. "Forget about me." Lin Jie. He ran toward the woods. You have to chase him. Because deep down, Zhou Zhuo knew they had to end this now, once and for all. This world was shifting, growing stranger and more dangerous by the second. And those two figures that had appeared beneath the blood moon, they were high-tier ability users, beings who shouldn't even exist yet. In his previous life, after the outbreak of the zombie apocalypse, Zhou Zhuo had been the only surviving human from Qingshan village. One day, a team of survivors found him. Their leader looked at Zhou Zhuo as if he were an insect and asked in a cold, casual voice, "How many zombies are there in Qingshan village?" Zhou Zhuo lifted his heavy eyelids and replied in a low, steady voice, "A lot. Close to 1,000. Very dangerous." The other members of the team burst into laughter, mocking him loudly. "Only 1,000? And you call that dangerous? Another useless coward, huh?" The leader pressed on. "And the strongest zombie? What tier and how many?" Zhou Zhuo hesitated for a moment, then lowered his head and answered, "4th tier. Only one." Hearing this, the leader's eyes lit up with excitement. "Not bad, a 4th tier zombie." Then he pointed lazily toward a spot nearby and ordered, "All right, go over there and put on a collar and shackles." Zhou Zhuo turned and looked, and saw dozens of humans bound to a dead tree, each wearing collars and chains, their faces etched with humiliation and despair. It was clear, these people had been reduced to slaves. Fury blazed in Zhou Zhuo's eyes. Refusing to accept this fate, he sprang up and bolted towards the depths of the forest. But he hadn't gotten far before a surge of powerful energy crashed toward him like a tidal wave. Instantly, that surge of energy exploded into roaring flames, blocking Zhou Zhuo's path completely. The team leader sauntered forward, his face twisted into a mocking grin. "Trying to run?" he sneered. "We, high-tier ability users, are the chosen ones, the new race blessed by the gods." His voice turned colder as he added, "Trash like you was born to be our slave." Back in the present, Joshua arrived at the spot where the blue light had fallen the day before. Staring at the devastated landscape before him, he knew deep down, this was almost certainly tied to the emergence of high-tier ability users. 558. His experiences from his previous life had taught him well. Many of those so-called elites were nothing but monsters in human skin, and the disasters they unleashed that were far worse than any zombie outbreak. He had to uncover the truth early, before history repeated itself. Following the scorched earth trail, Joshua soon spotted a massive crater at the base of a hill. Nestled inside the pit, a massive white crystal, at least half his height, gleamed with a strange, ethereal light, captivating his gaze completely. As Joshua slowly approached the white crystal, a strange feeling stirred inside him. An overwhelming, primal urge, the instinct to devour the crystal, surged through him. He reached out, fingers just about to touch its gleaming surface, when suddenly alarm bells screamed in his mind. His instincts flared to life. In a flash, he triggered his ability and sprang backward, putting distance between himself and the crystal. His gaze sharpened, and he barked out, "Who's there?" The next instant, a shadowy figure silently appeared behind him. The newcomer chuckled softly and said, "Looks like you're the sole survivor of this area." Glancing casually at Joshua's glowing fingertips, now aimed at his neck, the man smiled faintly and added, "Not bad. Good reflexes, plenty of potential worth tapping into." Joshua's expression remained cold, his energy crackling dangerously at his fingertips. In a low, icy voice, he demanded, "Step back. I'll only ask one more time. Who are you?" Hearing Joshua's icy demand, the middle-aged man simply waved it off with a chuckle. All right, he said lightly. "My name's Takahashi Kita, third-tier ability user." But before his words had even fully settled, Joshua's eyes sharpened, and he instantly gathered energy into his right hand, throwing a powerful punch straight at Takahashi's face. Yet Takahashi's expression remained unchanged. He merely released a slight pulse of his own ability. Instantly, the space around him began to ripple and distort bizarrely. In the blink of an eye, Takahashi vanished from where he had been standing. As Joshua tensed for a counterattack, Takahashi's voice drifted over from beside the white crystal. Relaxed and a bit exasperated, he said, "Geez, kid, you're really wound tight, huh? It was just a joke. No need to throw hands right away." Pointing casually at the white crystal, he added, "Relax. I'm not here for you, or your family or friends. I'm only interested in that, the original core." Hearing this, Joshua finally lowered his guard slightly, though his face was still clouded with confusion. "The original core? What's that?" Takahashi blinked in surprise, then laughed incredulously. "You seriously don't know? I figured you came here precisely because you knew there was treasure." Scanning Joshua up and down, he shook his head and chuckled. "Looks like you're just a freshly awakened, first-tier rookie after all." Takahashi Kita didn't bother hiding anything. With a chuckle, he explained, "Ever played an MMORPG? This crystal is basically a leveling up item." He snapped his fingers casually and continued. "Normally, ability users can strengthen themselves by absorbing zombie cores. But that method only gets you to tier 4 at best. To reach higher levels, you need these original cores." As he spoke, he gently tapped the massive white crystal with his fingertip. A chunk about the size of a palm detached itself, floating steadily into Joshua's hand. Staring down at the glowing shard in his palm, Joshua narrowed his eyes and asked flatly, "You're not giving this away for free, are you? What do you want from me?" Takahashi merely smirked, his tone easygoing as he replied, "Smart kid. One day, I might need your help for something. Until then, just focus on raising your ability level." As he spoke, Takahashi's figure began fading into the distorted space around him. Before vanishing completely, he tossed out one last cryptic remark. "Oh, right. Almost forgot to mention, there really are gods in this world." And with that, Takahashi and the giant original core both disappeared from sight. Left alone, Joshua stood frozen, the ominous weight of Takahashi's final words pressing down on him. Still hearing the echo of those words in his mind, he muttered under his breath, "Gods? No way. That guy must be out of his mind." Joshua tried hard to convince himself there couldn't possibly be real gods in this world. Yet unbidden, he remembered the words of that survivor leader from his past life. High-tier ability users are the new humans, chosen by the gods. Slowly, the unwavering atheism that Joshua had clung to for so long began to crack. He muttered under his breath, "If gods really do exist, then could this apocalyptic world have been their doing?" As doubts flooded his mind, a faint blue light began to seep up from the cracks beneath his feet. The sudden energy fluctuation around him made Joshua tense up instinctively. He frowned deeply, his eyes locking onto the source ahead. At the center of the crater, a blinding pillar of blue light erupted skyward. As the intense light slowly faded, Zhou saw, floating at the heart of the crater, a crystalline shard, pulsing with an eerie blue glow. Staring at the mysterious object, Zhou murmured in confusion, "Did this thing grow out from where the original core used to be?" But before he could make sense of it, the blue crystal began to tremble violently, then shot toward him at breathtaking speed. In the next instant, the blue crystal shot forward like a bullet, slamming straight into Zhou's body before he could even react. Zhou's eyes flared with an intense blue light, his entire body convulsing violently, painful cries escaping his lips. Meanwhile, the clear skies above suddenly darkened, and thick fog surged from every direction, swirling upward and lifting Zhou's body high into the air. Elsewhere in the forest, Zhou Ming and Zhou Ying, who had been desperately searching for Zhou, saw the sudden eruption of dense white mist. Their hearts immediately tightened with worry. Zhou Ming's gaze sharpened. He whispered urgently, "Stay quiet." Startled, Zhou Ying followed his line of sight. Within the thick mist, a faint figure was swaying back and forth, bathed in a glowing blue aura. Fear creeping in her voice, Zhou Ying whispered, "Big brother, could that be a ghost?" Zhou Ming rolled his eyes and muttered back, "Don't be ridiculous. There's no such thing as ghosts." Still, the eerie figure within the fog continued slowly, steadily drifting closer and closer toward them, just as the blurred figure was about to fully reveal itself. In the very next instant, it shimmered and vanished into the thick mist, before Zhou Ming and Zhou Ying could even react or move forward to investigate. A blinding blue beam of light suddenly shot up from deep within the distant forest, piercing through the darkened skies. Zhou Ying gasped, grabbing Zhou Ming's arm and shouting, "Big brother, what's happening over there? Is someone transcending like in the novels?" Zhou Ming's expression turned serious. Activating his ability immediately, he sighed in exasperation at her comment and replied, "Stop reading so many fantasy novels. Believe in science a little, will you? I'll go check it out, you stay back." Before Zhou Ying could even respond, Zhou Ming's figure surged upward, his body expanding with raw energy, and he leapt powerfully toward the source of the blue light. Snapping back to her senses, Zhou Ying's eyes flashed with a vibrant green glow. She quickly extended her ability into a thick tree vine nearby. Under her control, the vine grew rapidly, lifting her high into the air. With Zhou Ying riding atop the vine, she raced after her brother, speeding toward the brilliant pillar of light. Zhou Ming, racing ahead, sensed movement from the forest behind him and slowed to a stop. Turning around, he spotted Zhou Ying rushing up, panting heavily. He couldn't help but chuckle and said, "I told you it was dangerous. Why did you still follow me?" Catching her breath, Zhou Ying answered firmly, "Exactly because it's dangerous. The more people we have, the more strength we can muster." Just as they spoke, Zhou Ying's eyes widened in shock. She pointed ahead and shouted, "Big brother, look over there." Following her gaze, Zhou Ming saw it. A massive blue sphere of light completely enveloping Zhou. Floating within the sphere, Zhou's eyes were tightly shut, his brows furrowed in pain. A glowing blue crystal was embedded at the center of his chest, pulsating faintly. Seeing this, Zhou Ming's face changed drastically. He shouted anxiously, "Zhou, hang in there. I'm coming to get you out." Without hesitation, he gathered all his strength into his fist and hurled a powerful punch straight at the shimmering barrier. Yet despite his full force, the sphere merely rippled gently, like water disturbed by a pebble, completely unaffected. Watching the barrier remain intact, Zhou Ming's brows furrowed deeply. He thought grimly, "It looks so soft, but it's harder than steel." At that moment, the blue crystal embedded in Zhou's chest suddenly cracked, shattering into countless shards of light that flowed straight into his body. The next instant, his tightly shut eyes snapped open. A blinding burst of blue light flared from deep within his gaze. As the surge of energy inside him gradually subsided, the turbulent phenomena around them slowly died down, returning the world to an eerie calm. When Zhou was slowly drifted back to consciousness, Zhou Ying, unable to hold back her joy, exclaimed, "Second brother, you're finally awake." Beside her, Zhou Ming grinned with relief and added, "Seriously, you had us scared out of our minds. You've been unconscious for a whole day." Meanwhile, standing sternly at the foot of the bed, their mother fixed Zhou with a disapproving glare and scolded, "Running off alone with your injuries, leaving your radio behind. What the hell were you thinking, huh?" Hearing her scolding, Zhou tried to piece together what had happened, but his memories of yesterday were shrouded in a dense, impenetrable fog. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't recall the details. Seeing Zhou's equally baffled expression, Zhou asked curiously, "You don't know what happened either? Back then, you were completely trapped inside this huge blue orb. Then it just shattered on its own." Before she could finish her sentence, Zhou's eyes suddenly narrowed, and a faint blue light flared deep within his pupils. At the same time, a translucent blue interface appeared before him. Zhou Ying, gender, female, age, 16, ability, growth manipulation tier, 1 upgrade requirement, 2 tier, 2 zombie cores, chance to advance to high tier, tier 5, 19%, original core required for advancement, 1. Staring at the unexpected data panel floating in midair, Zhou froze for a moment, muttering under his breath, "What is this? Is this Zhou Ying's profile? How can I even see this?" Then, he shifted his gaze toward his mother. Sure enough, the information updated again. CF Fong, gender, female, age, 52, ability, purifying light, tier, 1 upgrade requirement, 3 tier, 2 zombie cores, chance to advance to high tier, tier 5, 0.3%, original core required for advancement, 1. Moving his gaze to Zhou Ming, the panel refreshed once more. Zhou Ming, gender, male, age, 28, ability, blood bastion, tier, 1 upgrade requirement, 2 tier, 2 zombie cores, chance to advance to high tier, tier 5, 12%, original core required for advancement, 1. Gazing at the swirling data, Zhou quickly pieced things together from the looks of it. An original core is needed to break through to high tier abilities. But the success rates are so low. And worse yet, I have no idea if there's any way to boost those odds, or what the consequences of failure might be. Zhou lowered his eyes, gazing at the lonely original core he still held in his hand. He drew a long, steadying breath, his resolve hardening like iron. Time's running out. Before they arrive, I have to get stronger, no matter what it takes. As Zhou sank deeper into his thoughts, his father suddenly patted him roughly on the shoulder and barked, "Snap out of it, kid." Zhou looked back at him helplessly and asked, "What is it, Dad?" Zhou Jianhao grinned and teased, "You've been zoning out forever. What's got you so lost in thought?" At that moment, another data panel appeared before Zhou's eyes. Zhou Jianhao, gender, male, age, 51, awakened ability, gigantification, not yet awakened, awakening probability, for percent modified to 100% due to external ability influence, awakening requirement, 1 tier, 1 zombie core, chance to advance to high tier, tier 5, -70%, original core required for advancement, 1. After glancing over his father's stats, Zhou got out of bed, brushing off the sheets, and said casually, all right, I'm fine. No need to worry so much." But deep inside, he felt anything but calm. Now he could see everyone's abilities, awakening status, upgrade requirements, even their chances of advancement. It felt like he was cheating. A game where only he had the strategy guide. Watching him get up and head outside, Zhou asked, exasperated, "Where are you going now?" Without looking back, Zhou waved her off and said, "Nowhere. Just been lying down too long. Need to get some fresh air." And with that, he walked out into the courtyard. Staring at his retreating back, Zhou Ying pouted and muttered, "So heartless. And we were so worried about him too." Zhou Ming chuckled, patting her shoulder and saying, "Zhou probably has something weighing on his mind. Let's just give him some space." Meanwhile, outside, Summer Bingbing spotted Zhou emerging and lit up with joy. She waved cheerfully and called out, "Zhou, you're finally awake. Perfect timing. I just made some food. Come eat." After sleeping an entire day, Zhou realized he was genuinely starving. He smiled and replied, "Thanks. I'm actually pretty hungry." Watching from the balcony, Zhou Ming chuckled and teased, "Look at that. When did Zhou manage to win Bingbing over?" Zhou Ying, looking entirely unsurprised, rolled her eyes and said, "You're just now noticing? After the night they spent together, it was pretty obvious." Just then, their father stepped out from the house, grinning at Zhou Ming and saying, "You'd better hurry up too. Zhou's already got himself a girlfriend, and you're still flying solo, big bro." Zhou Ming sighed heavily, while Zhou Ying added fuel to the fire, teasing, "Yeah, growing up, you only ever brought your bros home. Never a girlfriend in sight." Meanwhile, after finishing the food, Zhou wiped his mouth, his expression turning serious. He asked quietly, "By the way, any updates on Lin Jie? Can you still sense him?" Summer Bingbing shook her head, replying softly, "No, he's outside my detection range now." Even when Zhou Ming went searching, he didn't find anything. Hearing this, Zhou's brows furrowed deeply, his mind sinking into heavy thought. In my previous life, Lin Jie was just a nobody, a minor casualty swallowed by the zombie hordes. I never gave him a second thought. But this time, he's become a real threat. I let my guard down. Noticing the heavy frown on Zhou's face, Summer Bingbing edged closer, gently whispering, "You've been frowning a lot lately. It's not like you at all." Summer Bing Bing spoke softly. "Back when the zombie outbreak first happened, everyone else panicked. But you stayed calm, helping us survive crisis after crisis. At that time, I thought no matter what happened, you would always handle it. You made people feel safe, reliable. But one person's strength has its limits. You can't always shoulder everything alone. So if something ever comes up, something you can't handle, please tell us. We're family." Hearing her words, Joshua smiled lightly and teased. "Family, huh?" Summer Bing Bing's face immediately flushed bright red. She lowered her head, stammering, "And no, I mean, you can think of me as family. No, wait, what I mean is me and your family. Whatever." Watching her flustered reaction, Joshua felt a warmth spread through his chest. He chuckled softly and said, "I get it." Then he glanced up toward the balcony and shouted, "Hey, you three hiding by the window, come here. We need to talk." On the balcony, Zhou Jianhao, Zhou Ming, and Zhou Ying exchanged awkward glances, having been caught red-handed. Once they gathered, Zhou Zhuo laid everything out. His encounter with a Tier 3 ability user, the secrets of ability advancement, and the existence of original cores. Realizing the dangers that lay ahead, they quickly came to an agreement. They would leave the village, head out in search of vital supplies, and better prepare themselves for the chaotic future to come. Just then, Zhou Ying spoke up from the back seat. "That's great. Doesn't this mean we're not the only survivors?" Hearing that, Joshua simply lowered his gaze, saying nothing. Beside him, Mother Xie's expression grew tense. She said worriedly, "That might not be as good as it sounds. In times of peace, people can coexist. But in the apocalypse, human nature can't stand any real tests. When survival is at stake, humans can be just as terrifying as zombies, maybe even worse." At that, Joshua lifted his head, his eyes full of steely resolve. He said firmly, "That's why we have to stick together. We need to keep strengthening our abilities, gather weapons and supplies, and defend our home at all costs." Zhou Jianhao, driving the vehicle, burst into hearty laughter and said, "Exactly. Anyone stupid enough to mess with us is going to regret it big time." Before long, they pulled over by the side of the road, just across from the old fishery. Gazing at the rundown facility, Zhou Jianhao asked, "Joshua, is that the place you mentioned? Are you sure there's really gunpowder inside?" Joshua nodded confidently and replied, "Yeah, if I'm right, there's not just gunpowder. There's also..." But before he could finish, a thunderous explosion ripped through the air. A massive ball of fire erupted from the direction of the fishery, lighting up the sky. Witnessing the massive explosion, Joshua froze on the spot. His eyes widened in shock, his mouth slightly agape, completely stunned. Moments later, as the smoke slowly cleared from the ruined fishery, a group of heavily armed men emerged from the wreckage. Seeing the well-equipped team, Zhou Ming narrowed his eyes, his voice tense. Where the hell did these guys come from? How did they know about the fishery so fast? Joshua's eyes sharpened, his tone calm as he replied, "They're probably the ones helping Lin Jie smuggle weapons." Hearing this, everyone turned to Joshua, faces full of confusion. Joshua explained briefly, "When I left the fishery last time, I locked the main gate and kept the key. Normally, no one would have found the storage room so easily. But now, they blew up the entrance without hesitation. That means someone already knew about the weapon stash. And the only ones who could know were insiders." Zhou Ying clenched her fists angrily, gritting her teeth as she said, "So much good stuff, and they got to it first." Joshua gave a faint smile, saying lightly, "Not necessarily." Zhou Ying picked up on the implication immediately, her voice filled with worry. "You're not seriously thinking about taking them head on, are you? They have guns." Joshua didn't answer. Instead, he turned towards Summer Bing Bing and asked seriously, "Bing Bing, can you sense how many zombies are still beneath the fish ponds?" Hearing Joshua's question, Summer Bing Bing nodded slightly. She closed her eyes, spreading her detection ability outward toward the fishery. It didn't take long before she opened her eyes again, having finished her scan. She reported clearly, "There are 52 zombies inside the fishery. 45 are regular ones, and 6 of them have cores, most likely Tier 2 zombies." Summer Bing Bing paused, her expression growing more serious, and added, "And there's one that's different from the others. It's much bigger, stronger, and there's a black crystal embedded in its head." Joshua narrowed his eyes slightly, responding calmly, "Sounds like a Tier 3 zombie." He continued analyzing. The fishery's underground space is huge, cramped, and enclosed. They won't be able to use their guns freely. No way they'll wipe out all the zombies easily, especially not with a Tier 3 lurking down there. A faint smirk tugged at the corner of Joshua's lips as he said, "We'll just sit back and let them wear each other out." Zhou Ying's eyes lit up with excitement. Rubbing her hands together, she grinned and said, "Yeah, Let's sit back and watch the show, then swoop in and clean up. As they were discussing, Zhou Ming suddenly raised his hand and said in a low voice, "Hold up, someone's coming." Zhou Zhua immediately tensed, his senses sharpening. Following Zhou Ming's gaze, he spotted a figure up ahead on the road, crouched with a gun, scanning their direction. Seeing this, Zhou Zhua shouted sharply, "Get down!" Under heavy gun pressure from the enemy, Zhou Zhua kept his cool and said to Zhou Ming, "Split up." Without hesitation, Zhou Ming replied, "Got it. I'll draw him out up top. You flank him from below." Zhou Zhua nodded, then immediately darted off to the side, circling toward the enemy. Sensing movement, the enemy reacted, vaulting over the roadside barrier in an attempt to flee into the forest. But just as he landed, Zhou Zhua was already there, like a shadow. Before the man could even process what was happening, Zhou Zhua slammed his palm directly into his forehead. There was a dull thud as the man spun through the air, crashing down unconscious. Looking at the enemy, who was already knocked unconscious, Zhou Zhua said calmly, "All done. Let's drag him back and squeeze some intel out of him." But just then, Zhou Ming shouted urgently from the distance, "Zhou Zhua, watch out." No sooner had the words left his mouth, a deafening explosion erupted right where Zhou Zhua stood. When the smoke cleared, there was a deep crater where Zhou Zhua had been. As for the enemy Zhou Zhua had captured, only a severed arm remained. Thankfully, Zhou Zhua's reflexes kicked in just in time. He had leapt to safety behind a nearby tree. In his shock, Zhou Zhua noticed a small marble, still hot, lying at the blast center. Hiding nearby, Zhou Ming shouted another warning, "Careful, there's an ability user." As he spoke, a whistling noise cut through the air. Zhou Zhua looked up sharply to see multiple marbles flying straight for his hiding spot. With a tremendous impact, the tree Zhou Zhua was hiding behind snapped cleanly in half. One of the marbles grazed past his hand, leaving a bleeding scrape. Seeing this, Zhou Ming called out anxiously, "Zhou Zhua, you okay?" Glancing at his injured hand, Zhou Zhua replied coolly, "Just a scratch." Then he added, "Did you see where the shots came from?" Zhou Ming analyzed grimly. The marbles are coming from multiple directions. No way to pinpoint exactly where the shooter is. But judging from the sound, they're bouncing off trees, ricocheting in from a distance. Zhou Zhua frowned, puzzled. "Ricocheting?" Zhou Ming nodded and explained, "Yeah, kind of like a giant pinball machine. Only here the trees are the bumpers and we're the jackpot slots." As he finished speaking, more marbles came whistling through the forest. Seeing this, Zhou Zhua thought to himself, "Just as I thought, hiding isn't going to work. Whoever's attacking us can definitely see our movements." But something didn't add up. If the marbles were launched from so far away, how could they be so accurate? If they're tracking us this precisely, the shooter must be close by. Unless there's another ability user helping them. Once Zhou Zhua finished clearing the zombies hidden in the woods, Zhou Ming finally let out a breath of relief, but quickly frowned and said, "The marble attacks, they stopped." Zhou Zhua narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "Which means I was right. They were using a zombie to spy on us." Zhou Ming's face changed as he exclaimed, "You mean there are two ability users?" Zhou Zhua stayed cautious and replied, "Maybe even more." Just then, Zhou Ying's anxious shout came from the roadside, "Big bro, second bro, get in the car, quick. The people from the fishery are moving. They've spotted us." Hearing Zhou Ying shout, both Zhou Zhua and Zhou Ming tensed immediately. But Zhou Zhua quickly regained his composure. With their enemies' numbers and abilities unknown, fighting head-on would only put them at a disadvantage. The only smart move was to retreat for now and plan carefully. Meanwhile, in the distant forest, a blond man cursed angrily, "What the hell? We just let them get away." He glared at the heavy-set man beside him, snapping, "Fathead, seriously? We were having a good time. Why'd you shut off the shared vision?" The man called Fathead, nonchalantly applying lipstick, replied lazily, "You didn't see that last hit? Our scout's head got blown clean off. What was I supposed to share, huh?" He then batted his eyes playfully, adding flirtatiously, "Still, those two cuties, pretty impressive for so-called civilians." After a brief pause, Fathead turned the tables, grumbling, "By the way, why the hell did you kill the client's guy? How are we going to explain that?" The blond man shrugged carelessly. If he got caught, he had to die. We'll just blame it on those two kids. Besides, the job was clearing out zombies from the fishery. A few human casualties? No big deal. At that moment, an old, bald man slowly approached them, his gaze sharp and cold. "Enough playing around," he said in a deep, harsh voice. "The freezer's open. Get in there and get it done." Meanwhile, back at Zhou Zhua's house, the family remained tense, even going so far as to erase all tire tracks to avoid leading enemies back. Standing by the window, Zhou Ying spoke worriedly, "They actually fired at us. You think they'll come looking for us?" After a long, heavy silence, Zhou finally spoke, his voice calm but grim. For now, they probably won't make a move. He continued, their top priority is still the supplies at the fishery. Until they secure everything, they have no reason to pick extra fights. But then Zhou's tone dropped even colder. But once they've taken full control, they'll definitely come looking for us. Instantly, a heavy sense of dread settled over the whole house like a suffocating fog. After a long pause, Zhou forced a smile and said, maybe it won't be that bad. Didn't second bro say there's a tier 3 zombie at the fishery? And the place is packed with explosives. They can't just use guns. Maybe they'll get wiped out by the zombies instead. She added, trying to stay optimistic. Wouldn't that be nice? But Zhou Ming frowned deeply, his face dark. Don't get your hopes up. They've got ability users. They don't need guns to wipe out those zombies. Zhou Ying's smile stiffened, and she asked quietly, then what do we do? At that moment, Zhou Ma, who had been silent all along, spoke up coldly and firmly. If they dare come after us, we'll fight to the death. Zhou Ba nodded fiercely, slamming his palm onto the table. That's right. Anyone who threatens my family, I'll personally send them to hell. Then he turned to Zhou Ying, grinning. Yingzi, help me whip up some more explosives later. Let's make sure they get a warm welcome if they dare show up. Zhou Ying nodded eagerly, her eyes flashing with excitement. But Zhou Zhua, watching this scene, only felt the weight on his heart grow heavier. He thought to himself, in his previous life, it had taken 2 whole months before anyone found Qing Mountain Village. But this time, it took only 1 week. These people were clearly trained mercenaries. Their firepower and tactics far outmatched his side. And once they gained full access to the fishery's explosives, plus if they managed to absorb the tier 2 zombie cores to evolve further, the consequences would be disastrous. Waiting any longer would be suicide. But striking now carried unknown risks too. As Zhou was sank deeper into his troubled thoughts, a soft, warm hand quietly covered his. Just as Zhou's mind weighed heavily with worry, Xiao Bingbing smiled softly, gently placing her hand on his and said, it's okay. You have to trust your family. At that moment, a burst of static crackled from Zhou's walkie-talkie, followed by Huang Tao's urgent voice. Hello? Anyone there? This is Huang Tao. Zhou immediately grabbed the device and answered. This is Zhou. What's going on? On the other end, Huang Tao spoke quickly. Thank goodness. We're at the hardware store. There's a situation. We found a living person collapsed here. Zhou's eyes widened sharply, and he barked into the radio. What? Tie them up now. Huang Tao, confused, asked, wait, why? What's going on? Zhou didn't waste time explaining. He simply ordered, just do it. No questions. Without another word, Zhou bolted out the door, shouting for the others to stay behind and guard the house. As he sprinted toward the hardware store, Zhou's mind raced. Damn it. One of the enemy scouts? Already? They found us faster than I thought. His eyes turned cold as steel. I can't let that guy make it back alive. Zhou quickly arrived at the hardware store where Huang Tao and the others were stationed. Outside, Li Qin rushed up to him, her face bright with excitement. Zhou, you're here. We went to the hospital first thing this morning. Found tons of medicine. But Zhou didn't even slow down. He only tossed back a curt, good job, before pushing past her, heading straight inside. Li Qin froze in place, watching him walk away with a complicated, hurt expression. Inside, Zhou found Huang Tao immediately, asking sharply, where is he? Huang Tao pointed to the corner, right there, tied up tight. Zhou walked over, studying the man carefully. Something felt off. This guy didn't look like he was part of that armed group. Zhou frowned, reaching out to lift the man's head. As the face came into view, Zhou's expression twisted in shock, blurting out, Gao Xiaobei. At that moment, the man slowly opened his eyes. Realizing he was bound, he immediately started thrashing and shouting in panic. Before Zhou could even explain, Gao Xiaobei instantly activated his ability, phasing into the void and vanishing from sight. Zhou immediately called out loudly, calm down. We've met before. A moment later, Gao Xiaobei reappeared from a spatial rift, this time right behind Li Qin, grabbing her as a hostage. He shouted in panic, nobody move. Come any closer, and I'll kill her. Huang Tao quickly raised his hands, trying to defuse the tension. Easy, easy. We mean no harm. But Gao Xiaobei remained on edge, gripping Li Qin tightly, his voice shaking. Don't give me that crap. I know you're trying to kill me. Stay back. After a brief, tense standoff, Zhou spoke calmly. Then do it. Gao Xiaobei froze, panic flashing across his face. You think I won't? Zhou answered flatly. I don't know. But if you really meant to, you would have already. Just like if we really wanted you dead, you wouldn't still be standing. Gao Xiaobei's grip loosened slightly, his suspicion wavering. Then why the hell did you tie me up? Zhou shrugged, replying coolly. if some random stranger barged into your house, what would you have done? Hearing that, Gao Xiaobei's tense expression finally softened, muttering under his breath. So, you guys aren't the bad guys? Zhou stared at him, raising an eyebrow and answering coolly, you tell me. Gao Xiaobei hesitated for a moment, then finally released Li Qin, mumbling, I just really want some beef noodles. Back at the house, everyone sat around awkwardly, watching as Gao Xiaobei devoured bowl after bowl of beef noodles, looking absolutely content. A heavy silence filled the room. Watching Gao Xiaobei eat like a starved animal, Zhou Ming frowned, leaning over to Zhou Zhua and whispering, seriously? This is the guy you met in the mountains. Zhou Zhua nodded silently. Nearby, Zhou Ying wrinkled her nose in disgust, scoffing, you're kidding me. He looks more like some washed-up bum freeloading for a meal. Zhou Zhua narrowed his eyes, studying Gao Xiaobei carefully. Something felt way off. This guy didn't seem anything like the powerful figure he'd met before, and he showed no sign of recognizing Zhou Zhua. Suspicious, Zhou Zhua quietly activated his ability. In the next moment, a data panel popped up before Zhou Zhua. Gao Xiaobei, male, 28 ability, spatial teleportation, tier 1, upgrade requirement, 2 tier, 2 zombie cores, tier 3 evolution chance, 15% ascension needs, 1 origin core. Zhou Zhua's doubts only deepened. He remembered Gao Xiaobei claiming to be a tier 3 ability user. Why was he listed as only tier 1 now? Was he faking it? Or had he truly lost his memory? After scarfing down a few more bowls, Gao Xiaobei finally set his chopsticks down, looking completely satisfied. He smiled brightly. Seriously, thank you guys. If it wasn't for you, I probably would have starved to death out there. Zhou Zhua cut him off coldly. No need for thanks. Start talking. Gao Xiaobei blinked blankly. Huh? About what? Zhou Zhua stared him down. How exactly did you get to our village? Gao Xiaobei stammered. Well, it's kind of complicated. You probably won't believe me, but I teleported here. Zhou Zhua frowned slightly, asking, escape? You ran into zombies. Gao Xiaobei nodded quickly. Yeah, they chased me all the way out of the city. I panicked, closed my eyes, and somehow, I ended up here. He glanced around at everyone, confused by their calm faces, and asked, you're all seriously just going to believe that? I said I teleported, and none of you even flinched? Zhou Zhua ignored the question, pressing on. So, you're from the city? Gao Xiaobei nodded again, serious this time. Yeah. Zhou Ming jumped in. What's going on in the city? Did the military step in? Are the zombies under control? At those words, Gao Xiaobei's expression darkened, his face tightening as terrible memories flashed through his mind. It took him a while before he spoke, his voice low. The city was a nightmare. The first day the zombies appeared, the streets descended into chaos. There were screams everywhere, people trampling each other, cars crashing into crowds. I hid in a garbage heap all night, listening to the cries and wails outside, telling myself over and over, just hold on. Someone will come rescue us tomorrow. But when the sun rose the next day, there was no rescue. The entire city was already lost. Gao Xiaobei continued quietly. Some people kept fighting, even in total despair. Others, they gave up. They took their own lives. The room grew heavier with every word. Zhou Zhua interrupted, his voice steady. Enough with the details. Get to the point. Gao Xiaobei flashed an okay sign, then went on, fine. When I was about to end it all, I got this text. He pulled out his phone and showed them the screen. Zhou Zhua's eyes sharpened instantly as he read it. Those chosen by the gods will become the new humans. This message, it came from them, but that was just the second day. A chill ran through Zhou Zhua's spine. In his previous life, it had taken over a month after the outbreak for the first ability users to emerge. Back then, no one even knew about zombie cores yet. How could they possibly know this early? Zhou Zhua's pupils shrank as a terrifying thought struck him. Could it be someone among them has been reborn too? At that moment, Zhou Ming asked, wait, you mean people in the city already know about zombie cores? Gao Xiaobei looked surprised. You guys know about the cores too? Zhou Ming crossed her arms and replied proudly. Of course we do. Not just seen them, we've eaten them. Gao Xiaobei's jaw dropped. You all ate one? Wait, don't tell me. You've all awakened powers. Zhou Ming grinned smugly. Yep, you bet. Gao Xiaobei looked at them with obvious envy. Sign, you guys really are lucky. If only my team had been that fortunate. After a moment, he began to explain. On the third day after the outbreak, I joined a group of over 100 people just trying to survive. We spent our days scavenging for supplies and hunting zombies. After 2 days, we managed to find 5 zombie cores. The 5 team leaders decided they'd be the first to consume them. Only the team Captain awakened powers. The other 4, they turned into monsters and were killed on the spot by the captain. By the 4th day, the captain was leading raids against other survivor groups, and fights between ability users broke out, turning into full-on wars. As things escalated, they started forcing more people to consume cores, myself included. Most either mutated immediately and were put down, or got dragged into the endless bloodshed. It all got too crazy. I ran, got chased by a horde of zombies, but somehow, my powers finally awakened, and I managed to survive. Zhou Ming frowned deeply, muttering, "Ability users killing each other over supplies." Zhou Ying shivered a little, saying, "Honestly, after hearing that, I'm glad I stayed in the village. The city sounds terrifying." Gao Qiaobei nodded eagerly. "Exactly. It's great here. Food, water, safety. What more could you ask for?" He slapped his knee. "That's it. I've decided. I'm staying here for good." Zhou Zhua, however, shattered his fantasy with a calm voice. "Don't get too comfortable. It's not as safe as you think." Gao Qiaobei blinked, completely confused. Seeing this, Zhou Zhua added, "We're facing a bit of trouble ourselves. If you want to keep enjoying food and shelter, you'll need to pull your weight." As soon as Zhou Zhua stepped out of the room, Xiao Bingbing hurried over. "That fast? You're done talking already?" Zhou Zhua nodded. "Let's keep him around for now. He might actually be useful." Takahashi Bey scratched the back of his head and said shyly, "I'm Takahashi Bey. Thanks for the meal, guys." Zhou's parents and the others all took turns introducing themselves as well. Takahashi responded seriously, calling out, "Okay, Sister Bingbing, Sister Fong, Uncle Hao." The whole group froze, visibly confused by the way he addressed them. Just then, Zhou Ying came out of the room and elbowed Takahashi, speechless. "Seriously? You're over 30 and still calling girls in their 20s sisters?" Takahashi's eyes widened in disbelief. "Over 30? I'm only 18. Everyone went dead silent, completely stunned. After a pause, Zhou Ying gasped, "You gotta be kidding. You're 18 looking like that." Takahashi looked utterly heartbroken, like he'd just been emotionally KO'd. "I just look a bit mature for my age, okay? I swear I'm telling the truth." Zhou Zhua stepped in to smooth things over. All right. I believe you." In a flash, Takahashi lunged forward, hugging Zhou Zhua tightly, bawling like a kid. "Thank you. I thought you were some cold, emotionless guy, but deep down, you're a total softie." Zhou Zhua was speechless, but in his mind, he recalled how even he was stunned when his ability confirmed Takahashi's age earlier. Brushing him off, Zhou Zhua said, "That's enough. Time's short. Come with me." Takahashi blinked. "Wait, go where?" Zhou Zhua didn't look back. "You'll see soon enough." Inwardly, though, he stayed cautious. This guy's either been through hell, or he's hiding something under that goofy act. Just as they were about to leave, Xia Bingbing shouted from behind, holding something in her hand. "Zhou Zhua, hold on." Zhou Zhua paused, turning back with a confused look. Xia Bingbing walked up and handed the item to him, speaking softly. "I found this among the weapons we recovered. Thought it might suit you. Not sure if it's your style, but I hope it is." Zhou Zhua took the item and carefully pulled it out of the black bag. Inside was a long blade. On the handle, 2 characters were engraved, Zhenhai. Zhou Zhua gave a faint smile and nodded at Xia Bingbing. "Nice blade. Thanks." Seeing that he liked it, Xia Bingbing couldn't help but smile as well. Before leaving, Zhou Zhua gave a final reminder. "We'll be back in an hour. If anything happens, call me immediately." With that, he left with Takahashi. As they walked, Takahashi couldn't help but ask again, "Where exactly are we going?" Zhou Zhua replied calmly, "A place you should recognize, the spot where you found the crystal core. The back mountain." Takahashi blinked. "Wait, seriously? That far? We driving?" Zhou Zhua shook his head. "No, you're teleporting us." Takahashi scratched his head nervously. "I've never teleported with someone before. What if something goes wrong?" Zhou Zhua clapped him on the shoulder, firm as ever. "You'll never know if you don't try." After a brief pause, Takahashi sighed. "All right, hang on tight." Then he grabbed Zhou Zhua's arm and activated his power. In the next instant, both of them vanished without a trace. When they reappeared, they were standing on top of an abandoned high-rise. The air was eerily still, but in the next second, Takahashi realized there was nothing beneath his feet. Just as he was about to plummet, Zhou Zhua grabbed the back of his collar, leaving him dangling in midair. Takahashi screamed, panic written all over his face. "Bro, please, pull me up first, man." But Zhou Zhua didn't even flinch. He calmly scanned the surroundings. "Looks like we landed on the north side of the village. Teleported about 3 kilometers, but still a bit off from the back mountain." Then he glanced down at the dangling Takahashi and said flatly, "Let's go again. Aim for the mountain this time." Takahashi freaked out. Again, Zhou Zhua stayed stone cold. "This is a field test of your ability. Keep going." Takahashi wanted to refuse so badly, but one look at Zhou Zhua's expressionless face, and he knew saying no might just get him dropped. With no other choice, he gulped, powered up, and triggered another teleport, this time toward the back mountain. Every time they teleported, Takahashi let out a loud, dramatic scream, like a man getting exorcised. After several jumps, the two finally landed on the thick branch of an old tree. Zhou shot him a deadpan look. Could you not scream like that every time? You're scaring the wildlife. Takahashi flushed with embarrassment. Hey, I'm not a teleporting robot. I've never done this much back-to-back, let alone with a passenger. Zhou didn't bother arguing. We're almost there. Keep going. Takahashi shut his eyes, gasping for breath. Seriously? Can I catch my breath first? Zhou shook his head. Nope, we're on a timer. With a soul-deep sigh, Takahashi powered up again, defeated but obedient. After a few more jumps, they finally arrived at the edge of a massive crater on the backside of the mountain. Staring at the massive crater before them, Takahashi panted, nearly out of breath. Ah, finally. We made it, right? Zhou nodded. Yeah, this is the place. He shot Takahashi a cold glance. That little test? I've seen enough. Honestly, your teleportation is worse than I expected. Takahashi blinked, confused, but Zhou didn't bother explaining. The most crucial thing in teleportation is control. And yours? It's only accurate within 100 meters. Any farther, and your landings are a mess. Plus, your stamina drains too fast. You can't even chain your jumps properly. Takahashi scratched his head, giving an awkward grin. Okay, sure, it's rough, but still usable, right? Zhou was suddenly snapped, his voice sharp like a whip. That's enough. His eyes narrowed dangerously. How long are you planning to keep up this act? Takahashi froze, staring back in confusion. Zhou's hand gripped his blade. We crossed paths right here not long ago. Don't pretend like I don't know what you're capable of. With a sharp shing, the blade was drawn, his aura flaring with power. Zhou's eyes locked onto Takahashi. You came to my house. What's your real goal? Takahashi stumbled back, panic written all over his face. What? When did we ever meet? You got the wrong guy. I just want a free meal at your place. And I'm not freeloading. I'll do chores if you want. But before he could finish, a wave of blade energy charged with raw power came slicing toward him. It slammed into the ground, kicking up a storm of dust and debris. Takahashi narrowly dodged with a teleport, eyes wide in disbelief. Holy crap, he's not bluffing. He's actually trying to kill me. His terrified screams echoed through the forest. Help! Murder! This guy's nuts! Meanwhile, Zhou calmly followed behind, blade in hand, strolling like he had all the time in the world. Watching Takahashi flail around in pure terror, Zhou couldn't help but frown. This doesn't feel fake. He looks genuinely freaked out. So, what happened to him? Which version of him is real? Or was the one I fought before not even the real Takahashi? Suddenly, Takahashi snapped, yelling from the depths of his lungs. That's enough. You think I'm scared of you? I've never backed down from a fight in my life. Zhou paused, slightly surprised. The next moment, Takahashi let out a wild roar and charged straight at him. Zhou simply leaned to the side just enough. Takahashi whiffed completely and face-planted with a loud thud, eating a full mouthful of dirt. Zhou looked at Takahashi with a deadpan face. Not bad. At least you didn't chicken out or teleport away just now. You're not exactly a fighter, but you'll do as backup. Takahashi finally caught on and slapped his forehead. Wait, so the whole thing was just a test. He pouted dramatically. Dude, I thought you were seriously trying to kill me. Zhou didn't bother replying. He just frowned and muttered, let's head back. It's time to focus on the real mission. That night, a vehicle quietly parked in the forest about a kilometer from the fishery. Sitting atop the car, Zhou stared toward the faint lights in the distance. His expression was grim. We're about a kilometer from a target. According to the plan, my big brother and Takahashi will go in first. Mom and Xia Bingbing will stay here for backup. Takahashi's face twisted into a bitter smile. Do we have to do this? Those guys haven't messed with us. Can't we just let sleeping dogs lie? Zhou's eyes narrowed. His voice dropped. You know just as well as I do. Those people will do anything for supplies. If you're scared, now's your chance to walk away. Takahashi flailed, panicking a bit. It's not that I'm scared. I just don't want anyone getting hurt, that's all. Before he could finish, Zhou Ming chimed in, trying to ease the tension. All right. Didn't we already agree? This mission isn't even that risky. But Takahashi still looked troubled, his face full of unease. Earlier that afternoon, after Zhou and Takahashi returned, Zhou laid out his plan to raid the fishery that night. His father had nearly exploded. Are you out of your mind? Zhou calmly explained. We're not picking a fight. We're just getting there first to steal their ammo and supplies. Once they lose their stockpile, they won't dare to make a move. And even if they do, at least we'll have the firepower to defend ourselves. Zhou Ming frowned. But the fishery's heavily guarded. How exactly do you plan on getting in? And even if you make it, how do you carry all that stuff out? Zhou returned to Takahashi and gave a small smile. I couldn't pull this off alone, but with your teleportation, we got a real shot. Takahashi in the middle of slurping noodles, nearly choked. Wait me? No way. What if we run into those maniacs? Joshua gave his shoulder a firm pat. Relax. My brother, and I will have her back. Worst case, we teleport out. But we really need you. Our whole family's counting on this. Takahashi rubbed his forehead, defeated. Great. One impulsive moment, and now I'm the mission mule. I thought I could finally enjoy a chill life. Nearby, Xiao Bingbing handed a walkie-talkie to Joshua. Use this to stay in contact. Joshua took it, eyeing the tree line ahead. Can we see what's happening at the fishery from here? Xiao Bingbing activated her power, her eyes beginning to glow faintly. I'll try. Then she turned her gaze toward the darkened outline of the fishery in the distance. A few moments later, Xiao Bingbing reported in. Their numbers are way down. Only one tier, 3 zombie left, and a few tier 2s. Joshua nodded, eyes sharp. They're already moving. We need to pick up the pace. He turned to his mother, beginning, Mom, about Bingbing, but she cut him off without hesitation. Don't worry. I'll keep her safe. You boys just focus on your part. Joshua gave a respectful nod, then moved on without another word. He led Zhou Ming and Takahashi quietly toward the fishery, sticking close to the tree line. Soon, they reached the outskirts and saw it for themselves. The main gate was barely guarded. Joshua narrowed his eyes. Their main force must have gone underground. Then into the walkie-talkie, Bing Bing, report the current zombie positions. Xiao Bingbing's voice came through instantly. Tier 3s still in the southeast corner. The Tier 2s have gathered near the center. And there are 2 fewer than before. Joshua listened to Bing Bing's report and muttered under his breath. Perfect. They've started fighting the Tier 2 zombies. That means the underground area near the northwest corner should be clear for now. He handed the walkie-talkie to Zhou Ming. Takahashi and I will scout ahead. Big bro, wait here for our signal. Then he pointed toward a distant corner of the factory. See that edge over there? About 10 meters down. Get us there. Takahashi gave a small nod, took a breath, and activated his ability. In a blink, the 2 of them vanished and reappeared at the northwest corner of the factory. As they landed from the teleport, Joshua immediately reached over and clamped his hand over Takahashi's mouth, just as the latter was about to gasp. He held up a finger, signaling him to stay silent. Joshua scanned the area, his voice low and calm. Good, they haven't reached this side yet. Suddenly, Takahashi gasped behind him. Wait, hold up. This isn't gunpowder. It's guns. A whole crate of them. Meanwhile, outside the fishery, Zhou Ming kept his eyes locked on the facility, silently praying that nothing had gone wrong. Just then, the air behind him began to ripple and distort. Before he could react, Joshua and Takahashi phased into view. Joshua tapped the crate beneath him with a smirk. Take a wild guess what we just brought back? Zhou Ming stepped up and flipped the lid open. His eyes lit up at the sight of rows of firearms. Guns. You brought guns. This is huge. Joshua added, it's not just guns. There's ammo, medkits, rations, enough supplies in that warehouse to arm an entire squad. No wonder people are after it. Then he turned to Takahashi again. Let's keep going. We need to empty that warehouse before anyone else finds it. Zhou Ming suddenly spoke up. This time, take me with you. I can help. Takahashi frowned, clearly uncertain. After a moment, he nodded. All right, I'll try. With that, he activated his ability once more. Meanwhile, inside the warehouse, the blonde man who had previously attacked Joshua had just sliced down a zombie and was smugly wiping his blade. But behind him, a new zombie crept up silently. His eyes widened in horror as he realized too late he wasn't alone. Just as the zombie lunged, its head exploded with a loud pop. The blonde man stiffly turned his neck to look, only to realize it was Fathead who had controlled the zombie and made it self-destruct. Fathead casually shook his hand and muttered, we barely turned the power on and already attracted this many. All tier 2s too. Nearby, the old man calmly crushed a zombie skull with one strike. He said with eerie calm, good. Saves us the trouble of hunting them down one by one. The blonde guy scoffed. Too bad these tier 2s are barely worth our time. A tier 3 would have been more fun. Fathead grinned. Now, that would be interesting. I've never tried controlling a tier 3 before. The old man shot them a flat glance. If a tier 3 really shows up, you two won't survive long enough to try. That shut them up fast. Both fell silent, faces stiff with unease. Just then, a scream tore through the air. One of their soldiers had been bitten. He writhed on the ground in agony. I've been bit. It hurts. Please, someone help me. He rolled on the floor, eyes wide with terror and panic. The blonde man crouched beside him with a mocking smirk. Come on now, what's with the screaming? Of course we won't leave you to die. The blonde man pulled out a crystal core from his jacket and waved it in front of the soldier's face. Here, eat this. If you're lucky, you might become one of us. The wounded soldier stared at the crystal, torn between fear and desperation, barely clinging to his sanity. The blonde man leaned closer, voice dripping with menace. What's wrong? Scared? You'd rather turn into a zombie. Don't hesitate. Become one of the chosen. Just as he finished speaking, bang, a shot rang out. The bullet whizzed past his ear and struck the infected soldier dead on. A scar-faced man stepped forward, disgust clear on his face. Back off, freak. The blonde man's face darkened instantly. What did you just say to me? The scar-faced man raised his gun, pressing forward. His words sharp, deliberate. I said back. Off. You mutated freak. The blonde man's rage snapped. His energy surged violently, eyes blazing. You think I won't kill you right here, right now? Just as tensions were about to explode, the old man spoke flatly. Enough. This alliance was sanctioned by the leadership. I won't tolerate any unnecessary conflict. The blonde man gritted his teeth, rage simmering, but still withdrew his powers without protest. The old man stepped forward slowly, voice dark and calm. You know what the best part of being a teacher is? He paused, then added with venom, you get to prune the branches that grow crooked. He turned to the scar-faced man. This place reeks of sulfur. You want to explain to the higher-ups why the whole thing went up in flames? The scar-faced man clicked his tongue, clearly annoyed. TCH, switch to blades. No one fires unless I say so. Meanwhile, Jojua's team had already used the window of distraction to move out most of the supplies. Staring at the neatly stacked crates, Jojua nodded in satisfaction. This should be more than enough to arm the whole family to the teeth. Zhou Ming gave a firm nod. Didn't expect things to go this smoothly. Jojua looked over at Takahashi, giving his shoulder a light pat. You holding up okay? Takahashi looked back at him, panting but grinning. I'm good. Just didn't think I'd be hauling half a warehouse today. Zhou Ming hesitated. Maybe we should rest for a bit? He doesn't look too good. But Jojua's expression darkened. We can't. That's here. 2 zombies won't stay distracted for long. There's still some medical supplies left. One last run. Can you handle it? Takahashi took a deep breath, then gritted his teeth. Yeah, I got this. With that, he triggered his power once more, teleporting all 3 of them back to the fishery warehouse. But the moment they re-emerged from the spatial jump, Takahashi collapsed to the ground, completely unconscious. The sudden fall startled both Jojua and Zhou Ming, their guard instantly going up. Jojua rushed over, quickly checking his pulse. It's power exhaustion. He's burned through everything, completely drained. Bro, help him over to that wall. I'll try to find some glucose to stabilize him. Meanwhile, the old man arrived at the infirmary entrance, flanked by Fathead, Slim, and several soldiers. Unbeknownst to them, Jojua and Zhou Ming had already dragged the unconscious Takahashi into hiding behind a nearby shelving unit. As the group stepped inside, they scanned the room filled with supplies. The blonde man's eyes lit up. No wonder you risked so much to come here. This stash could keep the whole group running for months. The old man nodded. As agreed, food and medicine go to us. Scarface gave a crooked smirk. Of course, just like we discussed. The moment he finished speaking, a sonic gun fired. Boom. The old man's head exploded in a grotesque burst of blood and bone. Shock slammed across the blonde man's face. He froze, eyes wide with disbelief. As he moved to react, the soldier beside him suddenly lunged, locking him down instantly. Fathead didn't even get the chance to blink. He was gunned down on the spot, dead before he hit the ground. Scarface stepped up to the blonde man, sneering. Look at you. Pathetic. And laughable. Did you really think we'd share any of this with you? You're just a bunch of freaks who got lucky with some abilities. You think that puts you on our level? Power gets you profit. Do you have any? The blonde man said nothing. He simply lowered his gaze, silent. Then suddenly, he chuckled. The eerie sound of his laughter sent a chill up Scarface's spine. What the hell are you laughing at? And then, a voice cold and venomous echoed from right behind him. End of the world out here, and you're still talking about power structures? There's only one law now, survival of the fittest. Scarface froze as the old man, whose head had just been blown apart, stood back up, alive and smiling darkly. With eyes wide in horror, Scarface spun around and opened fire behind him in a panic. The old man didn't even flinch as Scarface opened fire. He just stared back, emotionless. Then something impossible happened. Every bullet stopped midair, frozen inches from his body. Scarface's eyes widened in pure horror. What is that thing? Fire. Everyone, open fire, he shouted, voice cracking with panic. But before his soldiers could even raise their weapons, a hail of bullets tore through them. Several dropped instantly, shot clean through. Off to the side, a soldier with glowing red eyes had taken position with a sniper rifle, methodically eliminating Scarface's entire unit. From behind the shelves, Jojua let out a cold chuckle. Classic. Let the dogs tear each other apart. Zhou Ming glanced over. How's Takahashi holding up? Jojua checked his unconscious teammate, then sighed. Still out cold. No signs of waking up. Trapped, but thinking fast, Joshua clenched his jaw. If those monsters wipe each other out, I'll finish off whoever's left. Scarface staggered backward, voice trembling as he watched the old man approach. Don't come any closer. I'm warning you. Stay back. I've got people, important people behind me. You wouldn't dare kill me. The old man gave a cold, mocking laugh. Important people? Too bad. They're probably corpses by now. Before we even arrived at the fishery, our operatives were already embedded with them. Just like you, we never had any intention of working together. One world doesn't need two eras. He calmly raised his hand. At the flick of a finger, a bullet, suspended midair, shot forward with a crack. Right into Scarface's skull. The old man didn't even blink. Your era is over. As the body dropped, he turned to one of his subordinates. Swine, clear out the stragglers outside the compound. The red-eyed soldier grumbled. Seriously? I just got into this body, still not fully synced yet. The blonde man, now casually lighting a cigarette, rolled his eyes. Oh please, you say that every time. At this point, changing bodies is like changing shirts for you. Swine grumbled, knowing there was no getting out of it. Yeah, I'm going, he muttered, dragging his feet as he exited the compound. As he left, the blonde man glanced around the room, packed with crates. So what now? Just the two of us? It'll take forever to move all this stuff. The old man paused in silence, then slowly turned his gaze toward a shelf in the corner and muttered, no rush. Before we move anything, let's clear out the rats. Behind the shelves, Joshua's heart clenched. They know. The old man continued, voice calm but cutting. The soil outside is damp. It clings to the soles of shoes. And young men, they tend to be sloppy. A habit that needs correcting. So, will you come out on your own, or shall we drag you out? Joshua exchanged a look with Zhou-Ming. They'd been discovered. No question. Without hesitation, Joshua stepped out from cover, energy pulsing from his body. Looks like talking's over. Let's finish this. Joshua stepped out from behind the shelves, blade gripped tightly in hand. In an instant, he dashed straight toward the blonde man, a blur of movement. The blonde man recognized him and scoffed. You again? What? Came here to die properly this time. Calmly, he pulled out a handful of marbles, charging them with his ability. With a flick of his wrist, he launched them at Joshua. The marbles ripped through the air like bullets, closing in fast, too fast. Joshua's eyes narrowed. Reacting instantly, he brought up his blade, clang, deflecting the deadly shot just in time. The blonde man sneered. Really? You think you can dodge in a space this tight? Joshua didn't answer. He just grinned. Hook, line, and sinker. Before the blonde man could realize it, a shadow swept in from the side. Zhou-Ming had circled around behind him. With his fist drawn back, glowing with power, he threw a devastating punch straight at the back of the blonde man's head. The blow landed clean. Before he could react, the blonde man collapsed like a sack of bricks, taken out instantly, just as Zhou-Ming began to let out a breath of relief. Joshua spoke sharply beside him. Don't relax. There's still one left, and he's the real threat. Joshua's eyes glowed with a faint blue light as he locked onto the old man. Instantly, data streamed across his vision, frowny face name. Yao Shenghui age, 61 ability, supercells, tier 2, next upgrade, requires 3x tier, 3 zombie cores, advancement to tier 5 chance, 24% raw core requirement, 1. The blonde man lay motionless on the ground, defeated. But the old man, Yao Shenghui, simply stared at them, calm as ever. That eerie calm made Joshua's skin crawl. He clenched his jaw. We strike first. Without a word, he and Zhou-Ming moved in unison, rushing from opposite sides to flank the old man. Joshua's blade slashed cleanly across Yao's neck, but it didn't even leave a mark. The old man stood completely still. Joshua's eyes widened in shock. What the hell? His skin's tougher than steel. But Joshua didn't hesitate. Bro, sink strike. Zhou-Ming's eyes sharpened. He understood instantly. Without pause, he gathered all of his energy into a single punch, and then launched it straight at the old man, no holding back. Their attacks converged. Joshua's blade strike and Zhou-Ming's energy blast hit the old man at the exact same moment, forming a cross-impact shockwave. Joshua had guessed the old man was immune to external damage, so they tried using pure energy resonance to cause internal disruption. But as the shockwave faded, Joshua froze, eyes wide with disbelief. The old man still stood tall, shirtless, and utterly unharmed, as if nothing had happened. Worse yet, the energy they unleashed had begun to seep into his body, absorbed like steam into dry ground. Seconds later, a familiar surge burst from his core, the same power signature as Zhou-Ming's. He had copied the ability. Joshua's eyes widened as he whispered in shock, "Blood Pagoda!" The old man took a deep breath, eyes closed, basking in the flow of absorbed power. Excellent. Your abilities are top tier. Especially you, Shaggy Boy. Multiple abilities, am I right? His gaze narrowed as he turned to Zhou Zhua and Zhou Ming. You too. You're qualified to join us. Zhou Ming blinked, still stunned. Join you. The old man turned away, casually gesturing toward the crates of supplies. You came for these, didn't you? Join us, and you'll have more than you'll ever need. Zhou Zhua scoffed. You just betrayed your own people, and you think we'd trust a word from you? The old man waved vaguely at the corpses on the floor. They were remnants of the old world, he said, tone calm and cold. We're not like them. We, the gifted, we were born to rule the new one. Zhou Zhua fell silent for a moment, then asked coldly, Gifted ones ruling the world. Fine, but what about the ordinary people? The old man smiled slightly, his tone calm. They'll live under our protection. They'll be the foundation of the new world. Zhou Zhua snorted. Foundation? You mean slaves? He knew damn well. People like this didn't protect the weak. They used them. They burned them as fuel for their so-called new world. As he spoke, Zhou Zhua subtly gestured behind his back, drawing the old man's attention while signaling Zhou Ming. Zhou Ming caught the motion, nodded ever so slightly, and turned his gaze toward the still unconscious Takahashi. The old man's face darkened, anger flashing. Have you even seen the new world? Zhou Zhua gave a quiet laugh. I don't need to. The fact that it's built by scum like you, that alone tells me it already stinks to high heaven. Zhua, time to move. Zhou Ming's voice rang out that he bolted toward the warehouse exit, carrying the unconscious Takahashi over his shoulder. The old man whipped around, eyes narrowing as he sensed the escape. In that same instant, Zhou Zhua dashed past him, slicing through the narrow gap like a shadow. As he passed, his voice echoed coldly in the old man's ear. I'm going to find every last one of you and drag your new world straight to hell. The old man stood stunned, caught off guard by Zhou Zhua's ruthless decisiveness. But before he could react further, he noticed a lit lighter tumble to the ground near his feet. Boom! A massive explosion ripped through the warehouse, sending flames and debris flying skyward. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Xia Bingbing was frantically calling into her walkie-talkie. Zhou Zhua? Zhou Ming? Takahashi? Anyone come in? But only static answered her. The channel remained deathly silent. Zhou Zhua's mother looked on, worry etched across her face. Still nothing. Xia Bingbing nodded, eyes locked on the rising smoke in the distance. There was an explosion underground, something blue in the basement. I can't see what's going on from here. But before she could finish, her expression changed. Deep within the ruins of the warehouse, the Tier 3 zombie that had been dormant until now slowly opened its eyes. Meanwhile, beneath the charred wreckage, Zhou Zhua and Zhou Ming crawled out, coughing but alive. Zhou Ming saw Zhou Zhua was only covered in dust, otherwise unharmed, and exhaled deeply. Phew, you're okay. But then he froze. Wait, where's Takahashi? Zhou Zhua pointed casually. Over there, still snoring. Sure enough, Takahashi lay amidst the rubble, fast asleep, breathing steadily like it was just another nap. Zhou Ming stared at him, speechless. Unbelievable. Explosion rocked the building, and he didn't even flinch. Then his eyes shifted back to the smoldering wreckage. Damn, all those supplies gone. Zhou Zhua brushed dust from his sleeves, muttering, better we burn it than let them have it. Zhou Ming glanced over at him, hesitating. Zhua, you seem to know a lot about those ability users. Zhou Zhua didn't answer directly. He let out a dry laugh. Just another bunch of arrogant trash. Like Lin Jia, the kind this world's better off without. He walked over to Takahashi and gave him a light pat on the leg. Come on, let's head back. Zhou Ming knew Zhou Zhua was hiding something. But if Zhou didn't want to talk about it, he wouldn't push. Just as Zhou Ming was about to move, something beneath his feet shifted. A faint rumble. Boom! The rubble beneath them exploded outward, shrapnel flying in all directions. Zhou Ming reacted in a flash, diving to the side, narrowly dodging the blast. He crouched low, eyes sharp, staring toward the center of the blast zone, fully alert, ready for anything. As the smoke cleared, a figure emerged from the blast zone. The old man, thought to be dead, still standing. Not only was he uninjured, but his previously frail frame now pulsed with power, muscles tightened, eyes burning with unnatural energy. He looked reborn. Meanwhile, back in the forest, Xia Bingbing continued calling into the walkie-talkie, her voice tense. Zhou Zhua, can you hear me? There's a Tier 3 zombie down there. It just woke up. But still no reply. Zhou Zhua's mother offered a calm voice beside her. Take it easy. If they went underground, maybe the signal's just cut off. Besides, with Takahashi around, they'll be fine. He's got them covered. Xia Bingbing nodded, but the memory of that explosion still gnawed at her chest. Zhou Zhua's mother smiled warmly. Didn't expect my son to have someone this worried about him. Makes me feel like the outsider now. Xia Bingbing's face flushed instantly. No, Auntie, it's not like that. But Jojua's mom was already walking off toward the trunk of the vehicle. Back in the day, Jojua's dad used to mess with explosives at the mines, and I'd be a wreck every time he went underground, scared he'd blow himself up. But worry alone doesn't help. And sometimes men just can't be relied on. When it matters most, it's up to us women to step up. Atop the wrecked fishery warehouse, Jojua braced himself against the onslaught from the mutated old man. He had no choice but to stay on the defensive, blocking blow after blow. But this relentless pressure was draining both him and Zhou Ming fast, their stamina fraying, breath growing uneven. Seeing that the explosion hadn't just failed to kill the old man, but made him stronger, Zhou Ming's face tightened with dread. Beside him, Zhou muttered under his breath. So, this is what supercells really mean. The old man raised a brow, mildly impressed. Huh, I'm surprised. You actually figured it out. He grinned, voice laced with pride. My cells possess a built-in defense system. When threatened, they evolve, adapting to the nature and level of danger. But at Tier 2, my cells don't just resist threats, they absorb them and turn them into my strength. Like this. As he spoke, a network of crimson runes, like living blood sigils, began glowing across his left arm. And then, he launched forward a blur of raw power, charging directly at Jojua and Zhou Ming. The two barely had time to react. The sheer pressure bearing down on them made their pupils contract violently. Jojua and Zhou Ming channeled every ounce of their energy, boosting their speed to the limit, each diving in opposite directions to dodge the incoming strike. Just barely avoiding the old man's devastating blow, they countered instantly. Together, they surged forward, combining their power for a full-force attack aimed at the old man's back. Their strikes landed hard, but did absolutely nothing. The old man didn't flinch. In the next instant, a ripple of red energy surged from his body. The damage had been absorbed and converted, and now it was coming back. Zhou Ming took the full blast. He was sent flying like a rag doll, crashing hard to the ground, and didn't move again. Jojua glanced over, heart pounding, but he knew, if this thing wasn't stopped now, everyone would die here. Gritting his teeth, he roared, and unleashed both of his abilities at once. Twin energies fused into a single devastating strike, forming a burning black and white energy fist that screamed toward the old man's chest. But the old man didn't move. He raised one arm, completely unfazed, and braced for the impact. Jojua's punch hit squarely, but it was like punching smoke. No recoil, no damage, no effect. The old man sneered, voice cold and venomous. I told you, the stronger the threat, the stronger my cells become, as long as they remain active. I cannot. Meanwhile, at the entrance to the fishery, Jojua's mother and Xia Bingbing finally arrived at the scene. Xia's eyes narrowed as she spotted bodies strewn near the gate. Did Jojua do this? Zhou's mother crouched beside one of the corpses, her face darkening. No, these were killed by gunfire. Just then, a burst of gunfire echoed from deeper inside the compound, and a soldier dropped right in front of them, shot clean through the skull. Blood sprayed across the gravel. Zhou's mother reacted instantly, grabbing Xia and ducking them behind a nearby stack of crates. Footsteps approached. A man in blood-splattered military gear appeared, wiping his sleeve with distaste. Ugh, filthy. As he walked toward them, he casually counted the bodies out loud. 1, 2, these ones are just in the way. After a final look around, the infiltrator calmly raised his pistol again. Bang! He fired another round, right into the already dead body near Zhou's mother and Xia Bingbing. Watching from behind the wall, both women tensed. Something was very, very wrong. The fake soldier let out a twisted smile. Looks like we got 2 extras. Come on out, ladies. Drop whatever you're hiding. Xia Bingbing's heart raced. She looked anxiously at Zhou's mother. The older woman frowned, then gave her a silent, reassuring nod. Slowly, cautiously, they both stepped out from behind cover, hands raised. The man eyed them up and down, sneering. Huh, you two don't look lost. Bet you're with those guys from earlier, aren't you? Where are your little bodyguards now? The words hit like ice. Xia and Zhou's mother both knew they'd been made. The man's grin widened, eyes gleaming with something darker. Pretty faces, smooth skin. I wonder, does it feel just as soft once I carve a few lines into it? Just then, Jojua's mother shouted loudly behind the soldier. Shua, behind you. The infiltrator flinched, his instincts kicking in. He whipped around, gun ready, but in that split second, Zhou's mom moved. She closed the distance and smacked the pistol from his hands with swift precision. The man blinked in surprise, then smiled. Well, feisty. Now I'm really excited. Let's have a little fun, shall we? Zhou's mother said nothing, but in her eyes, she knew this wouldn't be won with words. Meanwhile, atop the fishery ruins, Zhojua was being held in the air, strangled in the grip of the old man. The old man's tone was flat. You're different. You saw through my ability. You wield two powers at once. And you've seen the new world, haven't you? Tell me your secrets. Joshua didn't answer. His eyes scanned his surroundings, searching for a way out. Then, he felt it. A chill in the air. Familiar. Rising. The cold crept in, brushing his skin like frost, and his heart leapt a tear. Joshua let out a low, deliberate chuckle. The old man narrowed his eyes. What are you laughing at? Joshua broke into laughter, bloodied but defiant. I'm laughing at your arrogance. Your delusion. You think you're the chosen ones? Meant to rule the new world? You treat normal people like slaves. You hunt zombies like prey, but in the end, it'll be your kind buried beneath the feet of the very ones you look down on. The old man's face darkened, his fury barely contained. Veins bulged across his arm as he squeezed Joshua's throat harder. Then, with a roar, he lifted Joshua and slammed him into the rubble below. Joshua coughed violently, a jet of blood spraying from his lips. Nonsense, the old man spat, his eyes blazing. You think that will shake me? Joshua lay crumpled in the debris, blood dripping from his mouth, still grinning. If there is a God, he rasped, you lot were the first he abandoned. Silence, the old man roared, voice cracking with fury. He raised both fists overhead, energy crackling between them, and brought them crashing down. Boom. The ground exploded beneath them in a violent shockwave of force. Just as the old man's crushing blow was about to land, Joshua vanished in a blur of smoke. Reappearing at a distance, he stood tall, grinning with a wicked glint in his eyes. The dust cleared. The old man's eyes widened. He realized Joshua had escaped at the very last instant. He was just about to give chase when, suddenly, his gaze locked on his own hand. The cells in his palm had stopped responding. No activity. No regeneration. Dead. And then, from behind him, rising from the rubble, a pale hand reached out, accompanied by a chilling whisper, I'm cold. The old man spun around, but it was too late. That corpse-like hand clamped around his leg, and where it touched, his flesh darkened, his skin frosted over, and his cellular power died instantly. The old man finally pieced it together. His eyes blazed with fury. You lure that thing here. Joshua smirked, unfazed. Well, I can't beat you myself, so I brought a friend. Just then, a zombie cloaked in icy mist pulled itself from the rubble, frost rolling off its rotting skin. The old man's burning hot energy caught its attention instantly. He'd become the target. The creature advanced step by step. The cold clawed at his flesh, and for the first time, his cells recoiled. He instinctively took a step back. Joshua seized the moment, slinging Zhou Ming over his shoulder and calling out for Takahashi as he made for the exit. But just as they reached the edge of the blast zone, boom, the explosion rocked the air. Joshua turned on instinct, eyes wide. His heart dropped. The ice zombie shattered, reduced to frozen shards. Destroyed. Outside the fishery warehouse, Joshua's mom fought with ruthless precision, pressing the soldier back with every strike. Then, in a fluid motion, she spotted an opening and snapped a kick across his chest, sending him flying. Xiao Bingbing, watching from the sidelines, could hardly believe her eyes. This is Joshua's mother? The soldier staggered up, snarling in disbelief. No way. I'm a trained combat instructor, and I got beat by some woman. Zhou's mom dusted her hands off, smirking. Instructor? Please. You're barely good enough to be a punching bag. The insult struck deep. You bitch, he roared. I'm gonna kill you. He reached for his gun. Bing bing. Iron rod. She barked without missing a beat. Xia didn't hesitate, tossed the weapon straight at her. The soldier barely raised the gun when, thwack, the iron rod slammed into his skull with a sickening crack. He collapsed forward, disoriented, helpless. Zhou's mom stepped over, grabbed the rod again, and drove it straight into the back of his head. You want to challenge me? She muttered. Check your stats first, rookie. But the moment those words left her mouth, Joshua's mother suddenly trembled. Her body jerked, as if something inside had taken hold. Back facing Xia Bingbing, she muttered, voice strange and hollow. Bingbing, lead the way. Xia hesitated. Something felt off, but she nodded, stepping forward. Suddenly, Zhou's mom whipped around, her eyes glowing red. Her smile twisted, and from her throat came a low, guttural laugh. With terrifying speed, she raised her hand, fingers sharpened into a deadly blade, and lunged at Xia Bingbing. But, just as the strike was about to land, it stopped, frozen midair an inch from Xia's face. Xia Bingbing stared at the trembling hand, frozen in place, paralyzed with fear. Zhou's mother's face contorted in agony, her body shaking violently. She was fighting something inside. Through clenched teeth, she hissed, You little bastard, get the hell out of my body. Just then, a voice echoed from within Zhou's mother. What? No, your consciousness should have been erased. Zhou's mother clutched her forehead, steadying herself, then snarled, "You smell just like the rest of those rotting corpses." Disgusting. In the next breath, a wave of pure, radiant energy exploded outward from her chest. Her purification ability had awakened. The invading spirit screeched, "No, what is this? It burns, it hurts. Stop, stop." The voice faded to nothing, snuffed out, and Zhou's mother regained full control of her body. Meanwhile, across the ruined battlefield, Zhou stood, battered and breathing hard, his eyes locked on the old man. There would be no clean escape now. The old man sneered, "You drew that monster here. Don't think you'll walk away." Zhou glanced sideways. The tier 3 zombie was rising again, cold mist swirling around its cracked limbs. He clicked his tongue, muttering, "Great, this is gonna suck." The old man lifted his arms and roared, "You're all going to die right here." Just as the old man began his final attack, a pale hand punched straight through his chest from behind. His eyes widened, then dulled. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. The zombie's icy aura spread like a plague, freezing the wound instantly. Within seconds, the old man's entire body turned to frost, then shattered like brittle glass. A chilling voice whispered from behind his remains, "Not cold enough. So cold. I need heat." Zhou narrowed his eyes, jaw tight. This thing, it was beyond anything he'd faced. Without hesitation, he surged forward, blade raised. The zombie moved sluggishly, its body weighed down by layers of frost. Zhou slashed straight across its neck. But the next second, his blade barely touched it before his own hand erupted in ice, frozen solid. The chill crept up his arm, locking his joints. His fingers stiffened, he couldn't even lift his sword. Zhou clenched his jaw. A dark premonition gnawed at his gut. Something worse was coming. The zombie roared, clutching its slashed neck. And boom, a blast of frost burst from its palm. In seconds, shimmering ice sealed the wound, stopping the bleeding cold. Its knees bent, arms spread wide, and it launched, diving straight for Zhou like a missile of ice. Suddenly, crack! A stone struck its head, halting it midair. A blinding pillar of evolved energy crashed down from the sky, slamming the creature into the ground with explosive force. Boom! The impact cratered the earth, sending shards of frost in every direction. Zhou stood stunned, until he heard the voice. "Need a hand, son?" He froze, slowly turned. There they were, his mom and Xia Bingbing, standing shoulder to shoulder behind him. The two approached quickly. Xia Bingbing saw the frostbite on his arm and gasped. "Your hand. Are you okay?" Zhou exhaled, voice low. "I'll live. My brother's in worse shape." Zhou's mother glanced down at Zhou Ming, unconscious, battered. Her voice dropped, quiet and deadly. "That thing, was it the one who hurt him?" Zhou nodded. "Yeah." Rage flooded her expression. The temperature dropped. Her killing intent spiked. "He dared lay a hand on my son?" She growled, "Die." In a flash, she vanished from view, reappearing right in front of the tier 3 zombie. Energy surged into her palm, radiant white hot. She struck downward, aiming straight for the creature's skull. The sheer force of the blow gouged deep trenches across the frozen ground, each step marked by power. Though temporarily encased in ice, the zombie's own cryo abilities surged. The ice sphere cracked, then shattered. The monster burst free, completely unfazed. In the next moment, cracks spidered across the massive ice block, growing rapidly from within. With a furious roar, the tier 3 zombie shattered its frozen prison. But Zhou was already behind it, his blade glowing with charged energy. With one fierce motion, he drove the blade deep into the creature's back. The energy surged outward, pulsing through the zombie's body. Boom! A thunderous blast erupted from inside the monster. Its entire upper torso exploded, ripped apart in a rain of gore and shattered bone. Zhou stood still for a moment, watching the broken remains. He finally let out a breath. "It's over." His mother approached, giving a slight nod. Didn't expect it to last that long. She glanced toward the horizon. "Come on, let's grab your brother and regroup with the others." Just as the group began to let down their guard, Xia Bingbing's voice rang out in alarm. "Watch out. It's not dead yet." A massive wall of ice erupted behind Zhou and his mother, frost exploding outward. The tier 3 zombies' mangled upper body clung to the ice, eyes burning, one hand lunging forward. Zhou's mother reacted instantly, condensing her purifying energy and lashing out. But this time, the creature blocked her attack effortlessly, its strength unbroken. Zhou leapt into action, slashing at the ice wall with his glowing blade. Clang! His sword only left a faint scratch, barely a dent. Landing heavily, Zhou's heart sank. At this rate, I can't hurt it. I need something stronger. Then his eyes caught a glint nearby. A wooden box, top blown open. Inside, a crystal core glowing with violent energy. It must have belonged to the old man, his last weapon. Facing off with the Tier 3 zombie, Zhou's mother could feel its strength intensifying by the second. She shouted behind her, voice sharp and unwavering. Zhou, Bing Bing, get everyone out of here. I'll hold it off. Xiao Bingbing's heart clenched. She knew staying meant certain death for Zhou's mom, but her own ability only enhanced firearms, and against this monster, a pistol was useless. She bit her lip, turned, and ran, headed straight for Zhou Ming's unconscious form, determined not to be a burden. Zhou's mom quickly glanced around, but she couldn't see Zhou anywhere. That moment's distraction, crack, a massive chunk of ice hurtled toward her from afar and slammed in her gut. Her body flew back, colliding with a stone wall, which splintered from the force. She gasped, then coughed up a mouthful of blood, slumping down, her strength fading fast. Just as the Tier 3 zombie lunged forward again, a single hand calmly pressed against its forehead. Zhou's cold voice followed, steady as steel. Man, why do you all insist on being the last to fall? Then he chuckled. Guess that's just how we are in this family. I've gotten used to it. His mother, gravely wounded, barely managed to lift her eyes and saw his silhouette standing tall between her and death. Zhou grinned, power rising from within. Ability unlocked. Blood Bastion fully evolved. With a flick of his palm, the zombie was blasted back like a rag doll, sent flying dozens of meters. But even so, physical force alone still wasn't enough to destroy it. He didn't flinch. He simply raised his blade and swung it through the air. A searing torrent of crimson energy rained from the heavens. And in seconds, the monstrous corpse was gone. Not fallen. Erased. Zhou lowered his weapon, turned back toward the others, and whispered, "Let's go. We're going home."